Welcome back, friends, to the PFF NFL show. It's day 2 of free agency here for the 2026 NFL offseason. We're here to recap all of the moves that have really happened over the last 24 hours because, Dalton, the second that we signed off yesterday, now this is inevitable because this is just how free agency goes. The second that we signed off yesterday, Mike Evans signed, Tyler Linderbaum signed, the day goes on and just some craziness has happened. And obviously we'll recap things as we are live today as well. But we got a lot. I feel like we covered a ton on yesterday's show. And we got a ton to recap here on this one as well. How you doing, my friend?
Plenty to go over for sure, Trev. And honestly, it was a wild day one. And I honestly, we had so much going on. I was looking at it so late. I slept till about 10 o'clock today. And I woke up and it feels like GMs might have the hangover too because we only have, maybe a couple moves to talk about that happened so far today. But there's certainly a lot from after we signed off yesterday to really comb through and figure out, how it's going to affect these teams.
8 hours of sleep is very important, no matter how you get it. So, if these GMs are like, hey, you know what? Busy day on Monday, a lot of phone calls, a lot of mental stimulation. I need my 8 hours. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe we'll get a Trent Williams trade now that they're awake. But actually, West Coast, John Lynch might not even be awake yet. He's going off of your timeline. It's only 9 o'clock over there, so he's got another hour to sleep.
Well, he's feeling pretty good. He got Mike Evans and maybe just called it a night.
Maybe
that was it. Just called it a night.
That was bad. That was bad for me. I walked right into that one.
I was going to say, are you feeling okay? Are you even just feeling emotionally, okay enough to do this show, or what? Are you recovered by? It's been probably 18 hours or so. How are you feeling, Trevor? More than anything,
it has. And you know what? No, I'm not okay. No, I'm not ready to do this show. But the show does go on. In all seriousness, though, we'll touch on Mike Evans really quickly at the top. I see a lot of Panthers fans in the chat here early on. We will talk about some big Panthers moves that happened with Dan Morgan making some big splashes on the defensive side of the ball over the last 24 hours. But quickly on Mike Evans, I truly did not think that he was going to ever play for any other team in the NFL. Like, I just felt it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to start to finish, stay a Buccaneer throughout his entire career. I felt like the last contract that he signed 2 years ago solidified that as the case, but you can't finish the year the way that the Buccaneers did, specifically the way that Todd Bowles' defense let that team down and continued to have faith from your players. And I think that's honestly what this move was about. I don't think that Mike Evans agrees with the direction that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going. He doesn't agree with the leadership that is there and the coaching staff. Much less so, I tweeted this out and I knew that people were going to freak out about it. Much less so, I do think that there's a little bit of a Baker Mayfield factor here because even if he really was disappointed by Todd Bowles, if he believed in Baker wholeheartedly to be a quarterback who was going to get him another 1,000 yards this upcoming season, that they were going to make the playoffs kind of no matter what in a down division, even with Todd Bowles and the blunders that he sometimes has as a head coach, I think Mike would have stayed. And so I wonder if there's a little bit of a Baker Mayfield factor in here as well. But most of it is, in my opinion, just not having faith in Todd Bowles still being the head coach of this team. So they chose Todd Bowles over Liam Cohen last offseason, which it wasn't super realistic that even if they liked Liam Cohen, which I know that they did, they would have made the move given the success that they had winning so many division titles in a row. That one was a little bit more unrealistic. This year, they absolutely could have moved on from Todd Bowles, and I think the decision to keep him is what made them lose Mike Evans here in the end, because Dalton, he said in his statement, or his agent said in his statement, it wasn't about the money. It sure wasn't about the money because the deal that he signed in San Francisco is essentially a 1 year, $16 million deal. That is the only guaranteed money that is on that deal. So the total in the 40s or the 60s, whatever the official number comes out to be, because I saw both of those numbers being reported, I guarantee you Tampa's offer was competitive or maybe even more than $16 million a year. He just wanted out with the Bucs. So that's sort of my thoughts there on that whole move in Tampa losing Mike Evans.
Yeah, you just have to wonder in a general sense also if he just feels like San Francisco gives him a better shot to win a championship, whether that be because of the head coach or the roster or just in general the offensive play call, or even you're getting a new offensive coordinator again in Tampa with Zach Robinson this year, whereas you have maybe the best in the business with Kyle Shanahan out there in San Fran. And the 49ers had an obvious receiver need. If Jawan Jennings is going to leave in free agency, then Mike Evans replaces him as that one-on-one weapon who can beat man-to-man coverage, right? He's the red zone threat. He's really one of the best red zone receivers, if not the best of this generation. And I think the Niners still have a need at wide receiver. It still wouldn't shock me to see them go at 27 with a guy who could mix it up like Casey Concepcion or Omar Cooper after the catch. But I think when it comes to Evans, he must have felt like this was his best shot now to go somewhere and try to win a championship. The Niners still have to make other improvements to their roster, especially on defense. And I think that, again, they could still use one more receiver, but this gives him a better shot to do that than he would have in Tampa Bay, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that the potential 1,000-yard season also goes into that, right? Because he had, was it 11 or 12?
It was 11.
No, it was 11. He had 11 1,000-yard seasons in a row, and then last year he didn't get that 1,000-yard season, but he was hurt. So I think Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer anyways, but if he's able to come back after that injury at, I think he's like 33, something like that, and say, every year that I was healthy, I had 1,000 yards. Not only did he have the 11 in a row, but then he had the unfortunate injury that was outside of his control last year. He didn't play enough games to get the 1,000 yards. But then if he comes back this year and says, every year that I was healthy in my NFL career, I got 1,000 yards. That is a headline and a statement that's really hard to argue against when it comes to an argument for him being a potential Hall of Famer. Again, I think he's already a Hall of Famer, but I kind of believe that also goes into it, as much as he certainly believes the San Francisco 49ers have a better chance to be Super Bowl champions, and he wants to be a part of that. So I'm excited to see him with Kyle Shanahan. You mentioned Kyle Shanahan, one of the best in the business. I think that Mike Evans still has a lot to give. He's a better route runner than people give him credit for his size. Yes, he's a contested catch guy, but I'm really excited to see what he could be in that Kyle Shanahan offense. So it's going to pain me, but at least, with Brock Purdy wearing 13, he's going to have to wear a different number. So the only 13 that Mike Evans will wear will be in Tampa Bay. At least I'll have that going for me. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers, because they did make a couple of big splashes here, and I want to go over these. The Jalen Phillips contract, where he's getting $30 million a year, 4 years, $120 million. I mean, he is their number one player now within their edge rush group. I mean, they're going to build that edge rush, pass rush plan around him. Obviously, you've got Derek Brown to work with as well, who's fantastic there. But I love the fact that now you can sprinkle in Nick Scorton and Princely Umanmielen to be more complementary pieces, rather than having to lean on them to be your 10 sack, double-digit sack type of players. And then on top of that, they signed Devin Lloyd as well, who Devin Lloyd, I felt like would have been great for a lot of teams. The Bengals, the Raiders, the Washington Commanders. I felt like he would have been a perfect fit for so many of these different teams. And he ends up going to Carolina, which I also think was a big potential landing spot for him. So for Dan Morgan, the general manager for the Panthers, to get both of these guys, a lot of money with both of them, but making the splash and saying, hey, our defense has to be so much better than what it was last season, which is very true.
No, absolutely. I absolutely. I'm going to start with the Lloyd signing. I think this is one of the best signings, if not the best signing in free agency so far. Got him at a pretty good value at 3 years and $45 million. And look, this was the third highest graded linebacker for us in football last year, right? He's outstanding in coverage. He had 5 interceptions, which was second most at the position. He can fly in run defense, especially if the defensive line in front of him is built right. Devin Lloyd, I think more than anything for this team, he's going to allow them to be able to cover the middle of the field now. It was one of the biggest problems for Carolina over the past couple of years. Their linebackers just could not move well enough in space. Now, Lloyd pairs with either Trevin Wallace or possibly somebody they could draft to be able to cover the middle of the field and fill a huge hole there. The Jaguars, with Lloyd in there this past season, were the highest graded team in coverage on throws between the numbers. Lloyd is a huge reason for that. It fixes a huge hole in the middle of this defense. You mentioned Phillips on the D-line, and I expect that they're going to continue to fill out this defensive line in the draft as well. I think even somebody like a Caden McDonald in the middle is still an option there, 19th overall. But what Lloyd does to bring both that level of athleticism and a true leader to the middle of this defense, it's as impactful as any signing that we've seen, and I think they got an absolute steal of value for it.
I think so too. I mean, they really needed that improved coverage play over the middle of the field. I totally agree with you there. Now, on the flip side, they did lose Cade Mays. Cade Mays goes to the Detroit Lions. I really like that move for the Detroit Lions. If you're putting Cade Mays in the middle, then you've got Tate Ratledge on one side, Christian Mahogany on the other. Obviously, you still maybe have to figure out the long-term outlook of that Lions offensive line. But losing Cade Mays, not ideal. However, very clearly the Panthers were like, the defense is the focus here, right? A lot of their draft draft last year was defensive focused. Obviously, they went with Ted McMillan at the top of their draft, but a lot of the rest of it was defense. Free agency, it's defense as well. So they're making sure that the talent question is not going to be the reason why they might not repeat as division champions this season. So I do like that move for Carolina. I think they made the impactful and the right ones in the big areas to really supplement what could be, like you said, a draft strategy that you feel pretty good about potentially with a defensive tackle. I don't even think you need to pick one round one, honestly. I think you can get a really good difference making a rotational defensive tackle for them in rounds 2 or 3. But to me, those moves yesterday really open up things for the Panthers to take as true of a best player available approach as you can at number 19. So love the moves that they made there. Really quickly, I want to hit on this one because it's been quiet for the Patriots, but the Patriots did add Elijah Vera-Tucker to that group along the offensive line. So I think that that's a really good move for them. When he's healthy, he was, in my opinion, the best guard that was available to be had here. Jared Wilson now moving from guard back to center where he played at Georgia because Garrett Bradbury is now with the Chicago Bears. So now you're looking at Elijah Vera-Tucker, you're looking at Mike Nwenu, you're looking at Jared Wilson as their interior 3. I feel pretty good about that. Now, tackle, I think, is still on the board for them to add a long-term tackle that they feel like that they can invest in, whether you're considering it Will Campbell insurance or just the fact that Morgan Moses is getting up there in age. But I like what the Patriots have done really over the last 2 years. Yes, they got aggressive for the offensive line, and it got a lot better, but don't stop doing that if you believe that better upgrades are to be had. So I love the Elijah Vera-Tucker ad here for New England.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, I think the ripple effect on their offensive line is clear. It's Will Campbell staying at left tackle, Jared Wilson moving to center, and Elijah Vera-Tucker there at left guard. You mentioned it. They could take an offensive lineman, 31 overall, most likely a tackle to develop behind Morgan Moses, but they still have needs, I think, pass rush. They released Jelani Tavai as well. They could look at linebacker. We haven't heard anything yet about Jalen Hawkins and his status. They could look at safety. So they do have defensive options if they don't want to take a tackle 31st overall. But with Vera-Tucker, the talent is obvious, right? You're talking about a guy 2 years ago who was the 10th highest graded guard in the NFL. The problem is he's played 5 seasons, and on only 2 of them he's played at least 500 snaps, including only one of the last 4, and he didn't play at all this past season. So beyond the injuries, he's a really good football player, and if something were to happen to either Campbell or Moses, he could slide out to tackle and play there in an emergency situation. So the upside here is obvious. It will make New England's offensive line a lot better if you can get him to play 17 games, right? If he's just injured like he always is, then obviously you have a huge hole now at guard, and the Patriots are going to be looking to add to their offensive line depth, I think, anyway. But this is a high-risk, high-reward signing. If they get the reward out of it and he plays 17 games the way he's capable of, this offensive line can be really good with Will Campbell in year 2, with Jared Wilson moving back to his natural position, because I don't think that was talked about enough, that Wilson moved to guard after playing center at Georgia and was at least serviceable, right? I think now back at center, he should be more comfortable, and both of those second-year guys should be better in year 2.
Somebody in the chat was asking about linebackers for the Detroit Lions now that Alex Anzalone is gone, and I think they had a lot of other free agents or guys that were free agents at that position too. Yeah, Malcolm Rodriguez is a free agent, Grant Stewart's a free agent, Zach Cunningham's a free agent. It's basically just Jack Campbell at this point in the linebacker room. Well, and Derek Barnes. He's more of a Sam linebacker, sort of like an on the line of scrimmage type of a backer for them. But thoughts about linebacker? I mean, like Leo Chenal, I think is the player that everybody thinks about when they think of like linebackers who haven't been signed yet. But Leo Chenal to me is a different type of player, Dalton. Like I think he's more of that like Sam linebacker that you put on the line of scrimmage and I feel like they kind of already have that with Barnes.
Well, they have it even a better version of it, the best version of it with Campbell anyway. To me, they need somebody complementary.
Campbell can play more off ball than
for sure.
Than I think Chenal. Not that I think Chenal is not a good player. I want to be very clear. I think Chenal's an awesome player. I just like him being physical as much as he possibly can be because he's strong as an ox. So Looking at a lot of these players that are left remaining, because I think they need, you mentioned, a more
an athletic player who can play in space, play in coverage, and there's just less of those guys in free agency. I do wonder, maybe on day 2 even, if that's something they look at in this draft. Actually, an interesting player that I thought in that role played well, kind of a part-time role that he was used more in coverage and as a blitzer. How about Jamal Adams from the Raiders this past year? I think he's somebody who could rotate in. You get Barnes in on kind of those early rundowns, and then you get Adams in on the passing down. I think that makes sense a little bit as a value, but I think it's something to add more athleticism to that room that they could look at in the draft as well. It's very quietly behind Campbell a need for the Lions for sure.
Well, what do you feel about Quincy Williams?
Well, he's already signed with Cleveland. He's a Cleveland rep.
Oh, he did sign with Cleveland. Yep. Okay, I missed that one. Damn, I feel like he would have been a good option for them there.
Yeah.
You're right. I think it is pretty thin at linebacker.
You just have a lot more guys who are run stuffers, I think.
Yeah.
When I look at, and a Landon Roberts, right? When I look at the Bobby Okereke, maybe could fit the profile, but he really struggled with the Giants last year. Matt Milano is somebody who used to fit that profile, but he's really struggled and has had a lot of injuries the last couple of years too. So maybe it's a Milano and try to see what he has left, but I think that's something, if you're looking to add athleticism, you're picking the right linebacker class in this draft too. Somebody like a Kyle Lewis, let's say in round 3. That feels like it would fit right in, right?
So I do think so. Yeah, somebody who's much more of a coverage backer. If you believe now, I think Kyle Lewis is more of like a nickel defender than somebody that I would want with a lot of between the tackles duties. But if you have that mindset with him, I think that he could be a good pairing with Jack Campbell. I do agree with that point. I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals because the Cardinals made a lot of moves. They were not super exciting moves. You signed Tyler Algier, you signed Kendrick Bourne, you signed Isaac Suomelo, you re-signed LJ Collier, you re-signed Roy Lopez. Well, not re-signed. He used to be in Arizona, but you're signing Roy Lopez. You got Gardner Minshew as well at quarterback. You missed out on Malik Willis. So it looks like as of right now, it's going to be Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett as your quarterbacks going into next season. I think a lot of these moves are pretty solid for the Cardinals, but if you would put Malik Willis's name at the top of this list instead of Gardner Minshew's, I think you look at Arizona's offseason very differently. But the fact that they don't really have a quarterback to believe in, I think it sours a lot of what I felt like is pretty solid moves for them across the board. What did you think overall for Arizona?
I'll be honest, I think I'm going to disagree with you here. I'm not really sure what the vision is in Arizona at this point.
Is it because of quarterback or with the other players as well? Because I'm curious about that.
It's a little of all of it, right? I mean, obviously you're playing in the toughest division in football. You've got a new head coach. It's going to be hard to win in 2026 anyway, but it also feels like with some of the talent that they're signing, let's say like Tyler Algier and bringing back James Conner for one more year, right? So I think we can pretty safely assume they're not taking Jeremiah Love 3rd overall, so it's just going to be status quo, right? It's pretty locked in at this point that I don't even think this is an open competition. Brissett is going to start and Minshew is going to be the backup. Jacoby Brissett, he's a good player and a good backup, I think, but not somebody you want starting 17 games for you. You're signing an Isaac Seumalo who's going to be 33 years old in October to a 3-year deal on a team that it's this thing of I just don't feel like, I'm not sure they know where they are. Are they young and ascending? Do they just need a quarterback? Because it doesn't feel like they're call it tanking it out like the Jets or the Dolphins for a quarterback. Well, I guess the Dolphins now have Malik Willis, but say the Jets for a quarterback next year and they're just building the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals right now feel like they're in this holding pattern. And it's not a great one to be in. They were already the 3rd worst team in football this past year. Like, I don't know. Seumalo's fine to have on the offensive line, but they've done nothing to fix the right side. And now it just feels more likely they're going right tackle with the 3rd overall pick, which isn't bad. But I don't see how this team right now is moving forward, right? And if, they had to cut Kyler Murray in the same way that the Dolphins had to cut Tua, and eventually they just have to get out from under the dead money. But you can see where the Dolphins are essentially going through a full tilt reset. The Cardinals aren't doing that. You've got Marvin Harrison going into year 3, and the first 2 haven't been great, right? You've got Trey McBride in his prime. You've got Michael Wilson in his prime. You've got James Conner, a 31-year-old running back who is still your workhorse. What is the timeline? That's the part I'm having an issue with Arizona. And if they're going to try to win and play Brissett for 17 games, A, how many games are they really going to win? And B, even if they do, where does that leave your quarterback situation in the future?
Sure. Now, I understand looking at the roster and wondering where they're at, but I will also, I feel like I got to defend Arizona's timeline a little bit here because that's kind of not really entirely their fault. Kyler didn't get better, and Jonathan Gannon wasn't a good head coach. So unfortunately, they spent a ton of money and a lot of draft picks to make the defensive side of the ball a lot better for Jonathan Gannon, and it didn't work out. So they moved on from him because even if you take this exact team, and let's say that Kyler is happy. Let's say that Kyler Murray, marriage was not going to end in divorce, and he was happy, and you had some sort of, hey, new offensive-minded head coach, you feel good about him. If you would do that, and even if it's the same moves, but you put Kyler Murray back on this team and he's happy, I still feel pretty good about the Cardinals being competitive. Now, it sucks that they're in the division that they are, right? Because you've got the Seahawks, you've got the Rams, you got the 49ers. That's also a little bit outside of their control. So I'm trying to give them a little bit of realistic grace because it felt like they were willing to go all in on Murray hopefully having the best year yet last year. It straight up just did not happen. And then Jonathan Gannon just turned out to not be the head coach they needed from him. So now, yes, you look at a roster that's a little bit in flux, but I also don't feel like they spent a ton of money. It's not like they're spending a ton of money while not having the quarterback and you don't know exactly like where they would be in terms of, okay, are they going to actually try to compete in the hardest division in football or what are they going to do here? The most money they gave out to anybody was Suamalo, who I understand, like he's older, you're right, maybe he's not in his prime anymore, but they had to upgrade from Evan Brown, who was not good for them last year. They had to get a guard prospect. I don't mind this one as the most money that they spend. And the rest of the guys I feel like are supplemental players who give them the ability to have a pretty good draft class coming up. So it's been frustrating for Arizona, and with them missing out on Malik Willis, I can understand how it's more frustrating. But I just don't know really what else they would have done here because I don't think they can fully tank, right? Like even with the quarterback position, as bad as it is, you have maybe the best trio of receivers in the NFL. You have a really, really talented defense that should be a whole lot better than what it was last year. And it's young guys that are getting better. It's guys who I think can still be in their prime and contribute. Like, I don't know if the Cardinals were in a position to not do anything and completely tank like for an Arch Manning or something. I don't know if they're going to be very good this year just because, again, they're in the toughest division in football. So maybe that aids in their quest to get a franchise quarterback next offseason. But I just think the Cardinals are in a really awkward spot. And for where they are, I don't hate what Austin Fort did this offseason. I'm going to be honest.
I mean, you're right in the sense that it's not like they're spending a ton of money. I'll give you that. It's just, you feel like there's a lack of direction. And clearly in this division with those other three teams, you have to find a window to build a primetime team. I mean, you're talking about the defending Super Bowl champions, this year's Super Bowl favorites right now, plus San Francisco, who's always competing near the top, right? So I just think it is very hard to not feel like the Cardinals, to me, even if they did still have Kyler Murray as their starter, what is the ceiling there? Even if he plays well with some of the other flaws on the 7 or 8 wins, I mean, it's
in that division, yeah.
I mean, it's just so hard to not feel like this team is in the ultimate holding pattern right now, and that is a really tough spot to be in. It's there. You mentioned it. They're not quite maybe in position to do or to want to do a full tilt reset. Like Miami, I will actually give the Dolphins credit. Over the last 2 off seasons, they've embraced it. We're fully resetting this whole thing. We've basically got Achane and Waddle and even Malik Willis. It's essentially a 2-year contract, if you want to figure out the quarterback situation later. But they've embraced the full tilt reset. The Jets have embraced the full tilt reset. The Cardinals aren't quite there because a lot of their talent is young and can get better, but also it just feels like the whole vision of the team isn't one where they can compete with the rest of that division.
I feel really bad for Malik Willis. Now, some people are going to be like, hey, he's a millionaire. You don't have to feel too bad for him. Fair. But in terms of Malik Willis's NFL like journey at this point, horrible Titans team, backup for the Packers, in which in a short stint that he was there, when he played, he looked really well to the point that we're talking about him like this. Just signed a 3-year deal with maybe the least talented team in the NFL. So, like, Malik Willis, this is not really a fair shot for him as a starting quarterback. He didn't, I don't, not that he was perfect, but man, I felt like those Titan teams were bad that he played on when he was with the Titans in 2022 and 2023. I got to go back and look up the records of those. But like, it just didn't feel like the team was very good there for him to start out his NFL career. Played with the Packers, obviously sparingly because Jordan Love's their guy, but he looked good when he was on the Packers, somewhat of a competent team. And now he goes to a team that is probably going to be the least talented team in the NFL over the next 2 years. So not a great way to start your NFL career. Not exactly a good way to get a good hard look at who you could be as a starting quarterback. So,
I mean,
but,
I'll take.
He signed the contract.
I was going to say, if I'm him, I'll take $45 million guaranteed.
Right, he signed the contract.
Somebody hands me that right now.
I'm not going to feel too bad for him.
I mean, off of what he made 3 starts for the Packers. I mean, I'll take $45 million guaranteed after 3 starts. Sure, why not? And I think I don't know if Willis does play, say, as well as we've seen in the short time he was with Green Bay, you still have Devon Achane, you still have Jalen Waddle, you still have a team that can add more offensive depth to it. So I don't think offensively they may not be the most desolate situation in the league. Their defense, and Jeff Hafley's defense there and what he has to build on that side, especially after trading Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's what I'd be worried about more. I think right now on paper, that might be the worst defense in football because you've got a D-line that needs to play better. You've got Jordan Brooks is probably the best player in the secondary. They're figuring it out as they go.
Raiders? You want to touch on the Raiders?
Oh, this was the fun one. This was the fun one. You talk about spending money and why we have these free agency frenzies. The Raiders are right out in front of it for sure.
Yeah, John Spytek in his absolute bag this offseason. The Raiders haul Tyler Linderbaum, 3-year deal. Nakobe Dean, 3-year deal. Quay Walker, 3-year deal. Kwity Paye, 3-year deal. Jalen Naylor, 3-year deal. Eric Stokes, 3-year deal. This is the next wave. This is the next wave of Raiders. And I talked about this a little bit on the NFL Stock Exchange show that we did yesterday. Love the idea of pairing Fernando Mendoza with a veteran center who he gets to work with and have chemistry with throughout the first parts of his career. Now, John Spytek has said that ideally he would like to get a veteran in there anyway, so whoever it is, they can start week 1, so Mendoza does not have to start week 1. But I just love the way that John Spytek is setting this thing up to not fail the franchise quarterback before he fails them, right? That's the saying. Many teams and organizations fail quarterbacks before the quarterbacks fail them. And Spytek is doing as good of a job as he can, or at least certainly throwing a lot of money at the issue this offseason to make sure that that's not the case to move forward with Mendoza, who we assume is going to be the number 1 overall pick. So thoughts overall on aggressive John Spytek here with not only these moves, but of course, trading Max Crosby and getting 2 extra first-round picks over the next 2 years as well.
Yeah, they had to get aggressive on defense because they had needs at all 3 levels, and they just traded Max Crosby, right? So I'm really intrigued, especially with the linebacker duo back together from their days with the Georgia Bulldogs, Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, right? Obviously, Walker's career in Green Bay didn't go quite as well as he wanted it to, but he's a known starter and he's durable, and we know next to Nakobe Dean, that could be a lot of fun. Dean, when he's healthy, is really, really good. So I think that helps to really reset in the middle of their defense like that. I think they need to add more to the defensive line and even in the secondary, but they're going to do that. This team obviously is picking first overall for a reason. They've got a ton of needs, and for as much as it just absolutely shattered the old standards of the center market, I'm with you. I love the fit of Linderbaum, not only with Mendoza, but maybe more so with Clint Kubiak. You talk about a coach in Clint Kubiak from the Shanahan tree. Obviously, his dad, Gary Kubiak, he's a zone run play caller, right? The Seahawks ran it at the second highest rate in football last year. 58% of those runs were zone runs, and Tyler Linderbaum, the athleticism plays in that system. He's the 3rd highest graded zone run blocker at center over the 4 years of his career behind Creed Humphrey and Frank Ragnow, 2 of the best in the business. Linderbaum is right there with him. So even more so as a fit for Kubiak and what he could do for Ashton Ginty in this backfield, which I would argue in year 1 is even more important. Obviously, Mendoza's development is going to be massively important, but to be able for this team to run the football with the back that they just took 6 overall last year, that's just as important in Kubiak's offense, and then Mendoza can work the deep shots off of it, just like Sam Darnold did in Seattle. So Tyler Linderbaum obviously is the highest paid and most important signing that the Raiders have made here. It's a perfect scheme fit. It's a great fit, like you mentioned, for a young quarterback and a young running back behind him. And now I'm really curious to see what they do with this 14th overall pick. That's obviously to me, that's one of the most intriguing picks in the first round, because they could go in any direction with it, but that includes that left guard spot. That includes that right tackle spot if they want to improve at that spot as well. Obviously, they have defensive needs, but I have to wonder if Clint Kubiak is just going to jack up this offense early in this draft and really create an offensive line in a similar vision to how the Jets have done it over there with multiple first-round picks, but the Raiders actually have a quarterback that they can do something with, right? So I think that's going to be one of the most fun picks of the first round and one of those fun picks to mock because there are so many options with it.
I keep going offensive line, honestly. Like, I keep going offensive line at number 14 for them. It feels like Vega Owane is available for them, or Spencer Fano is available for them at number 14. Fano would be
so much fun, man. Yeah, Fano's the perfect fit. At either spot, I wouldn't care if he played guard or tackle. Fano and Freeland, Monroe Freeling will probably get brought up too for that right tackle spot, but Fano really would be that. You could not ask for a better spot for Spencer Fano than with Clint Kubiak here.
Yeah, because he...
Should we just do a Raiders mock right now? You want to do like a 3-round Raiders mock right now? You guys want me to do... Can I do the screen share? I could probably do it, right?
You want to pull it up? Let's do a little Raiders mock draft here.
Let's do a 3-round Raiders mock with this 14th pick, because I don't think we've done it yet. Because we did a post combine and they didn't have it yet. Yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun here. Why not? Let's pull it up. I'll get it going just a second here. If there's anything else you feel like shouting out about, the Bears signed Khalif Raymond. That's fun.
I did see that. I saw the chat talking about that a bunch. And Bears fans, you guys are as passionate as any sort of fan base that we have across the country and in this league. Because I saw a bunch of people in the chat that were just like, Khalif Raymond said the Chicago Bears. It's like, all right, okay, all right.
Hey, you never. Well, because I mean, familiar also with Ben Johnson, that always helps, right? I mean,
the Kobe Bryant signing and the Braxton Jones re-signing, the Devin Bush signing for the Bears. I think all three of those moves are really nice. They were obviously going to make a change at middle linebacker. They brought back DeMarco Jackson, so having Devin Bush in that mix as well is really nice for them. I really like them bringing back Braxton Jones. You kind of have to now that Ozzie Trapillo's long-term availability for the team is kind of up in the air. So like what they did there, and obviously they have a safety need. So Kobe Bryant going to the Bears. I think really helps them out as well from what he was with the Seattle Seahawks winning that Super Bowl there. You got it? You got it pulled up?
I think we're working on it. What was that one more time, guys, back there?
Oh, you were giving me a look that I thought was the, hey, let's get back to the Raiders.
No, you're good. It's a good call on the Bears too. Honestly, I think my favorite signing out of all of them is the Devin Bush one. He's been so good for the Browns the last 2 years, really resurrecting his career after struggling earlier on his first 5 seasons. But one of the best run defenders in football over the last couple of years, a top 5 linebacker in run defense actually over the last 2 years. So when you really look at what that does at a lower price than they would have kept Tremaine Edmonds at, now Edmonds is out there with the New York Giants. I think Bush in the middle of this defense, they could still go with another linebacker figured out as they go. They re-signed DeMarco Jackson for depth as well. But that to me was the best signing. I love Devin Bush in the middle of that defense, being able to stop runs between the tackles where the Bears were one of the worst teams defending. The funniest one to me is re-signing Braxton Jones. Now, I'm in favor of this, absolutely, especially 1 year and $10 million, because I think he's at least, when he's healthy, a league average tackle. So when you talk about, okay, obviously, Ozzie Trapillo, they want him to be the future, but what are our options here? And I even heard from people at the Combine, no way, they're not re-signing Braxton Jones. They would rather start Theo Bernadette or anybody else other than Braxton. Well, Braxton Jones is probably going to be your starter at left tackle now for $10 million. So I think when you look at that situation, and I don't hate it. Like, I'm not against it one bit. I think he gets way too much hate. Is he the greatest thing ever? No. Is he probably a league average tackle? Yeah, but he gets way too much hate in Chicago for the type of player that he is. And I think to keep a at least starting caliber tackle at $10 million, when that's exactly the goal, is just getting through this season, I actually think it's a really good signing. I haven't read the Chicago Tribune or anything like that today hating on it, but I got to think that it's something that's underrated. It was an underrated need, and I think to take care of it in the simplest way possible, and they kept Bernadette as well, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Totally. They're a team that feels like they could be on a run to the Super Bowl, and anytime you are, you don't want one injury in a very physical and violent game to derail your entire Super Bowl chances, specifically along the offensive line. So when you get guys that are familiar with the system, that you know can play at a decent floor of a level, you bring them back if you have the opportunity to do so, especially when you are at where the Bears are at. So that I agree with you completely. Love the move, love the depth. I think people often forget about those depth signings along the offensive line. They think, all right, the starting 5 is good to go. you're lucky if your starting five all plays together for an entire season, especially when you're making a deep playoff run. So you got to have guys that you feel good about that can step in and win some games for you. We got the PFF mock draft simulator fired up right here. We're going to run through a Raiders 3-round mock draft, but I do want to say that I updated the team needs for all of the teams this morning as well. So if you guys have a PFF Plus subscription, you can go in and run as many mock drafts as you want. I updated the big board a couple of days ago, so the big board's been updated. The team needs have now been updated sort of for this mid-free agency period of the week. So you guys can do all that just like we're going to do here for the Raiders. It's fired up here. Mendoza's obviously going number 1. Don't have to think too hard about that one. But then at number 14, let's see the options that we got here. What do we got? What do we got at 14?
We have Ioane.
Spencer Fano is gone 2 picks before to the Dallas Cowboys.
Odd selection there from the simulator, but okay.
Very, very odd selection there. Not sure that one should have happened.
So, and there's
Raiders at 14.
This is the thing with the Raiders. They still have so many needs on a team that ended up with the worst record in football that I think Ioane makes sense. If they wanted to mess around and take Mekhi Lemon, I think that would make sense. Any defensive player except for, they could, a third Georgia linebacker and C.J. Allen could make plenty of sense too with Dean and Allen, or with Walker, I should say, but probably not going to do that. Jordan Tyson, I would be tempted to go Ioane in this spot and keep improving this offensive line. What say you?
I think Ioane makes the most sense.
Or do we wait and maybe go, figure out at 36, maybe a Pregnon or a Basantis who also would make plenty of sense there at left guard too? And go, we could get a weapon, we could get a defensive player, you could take the big swing on Caleb Banks. I think there's a ton. This is one of the most fascinating picks of the whole first round. I really think so. There's almost anybody here makes sense.
It's interesting, too, because they do still have do they still have Jordan Meredith? Where's your free agent?
Dylan Parham's a free agent.
Yeah.
I've got to check and see if they still have Meredith. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know they have Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers.
And what's funny is Grant and his skill set, if they can develop him right, Kubiak would probably really like him too.
I know.
That's a good call. If he feels like there's somebody in-house. But Ioane, to me, I mean, it's just so safe. Especially if you're looking to protect Mendoza. Yeah, that's your guy. No question.
I don't think there's anybody else that's like overly tempting that you would have to get here.
The Jalen Naylor signing is interesting too, isn't it? I think he got 12
million a year. I think they just like the player.
Yeah.
Totally new coaching staff, so who knows? But like the Jack Bash usage last year was awful. They didn't want to play him at all. It's just very, very strange to me. Trey Tucker, I don't think they see like a wide receiver 1 in him. They would much rather him be sort of your 2. Obviously, Brock Bowers is kind of your pseudo 1 anyways in that offense. But I think about corner as well, like Jermon McCoy. I know they drafted Darian Porter. Maybe they believe in him enough and wouldn't take a corner in the first round. Corner also just feels like especially with Spytek coming over from Tampa, it just always felt like second and third round is where Tampa hit their corners. So that feels like that might be where Spytek would go. What we're trying to do here, folks, is basically convince ourselves, like, is there anybody else that they would take over Ioane? Because if not, then it just makes too much sense for them to continue to upgrade the offensive line. I think ultimately that's probably where we should go here. Because if you address the offensive line, you feel pretty good about some of those other positions that I mentioned, maybe wide receiver, maybe corner in rounds 2 and 3. So I'm trying to think of anybody else other than Ioane, but I can't come up with anybody other than
and even at right tackle, you mentioned Charles Grant before. They still have DJ Glaze on the roster as well, who started plenty of games for them. So I mean, right tackle, if they feel like one of of Monroe Freeling or Spencer Fano or whoever is a major upgrade, then sure. But that left guard spot right now seems like the perfect thing to attack here at 14, unless anyone else on defense, of course, jumps out at them. But we're going with that.
Like, defensive line would be the question, and I could see them being interested in Caleb Banks. Like, Caleb Banks' range is all over the place. I think Caleb Banks, anywhere from just outside of the top 10 all the way to the middle of the second round, to be honest. That's where Caleb Banks' range is. He's pretty boom or bust as a player. Going through his final eval, which I'll have, my big board on the site very soon, and we'll go through the defensive tackle ranking on NFL Stock Exchange. I've been pretty let down by the defensive tackle group. I am much more comfortable sort of waiting for a defensive tackle on day 2 than I am taking one in the first round. So somebody in the chat even shouted out like, hey, they need interior defensive line. I'd be waiting on interior defensive line for the second round. I wouldn't be taking him here at 14.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I think you could get some good options there at 36. And that's probably the range that's really ideal for D tackles in this class, is somewhere between probably 20 and about 45 in there. Is probably 14 might be a little rich, unless you really believe you can develop Banks into a star player.
Yeah, because the highest for Caleb Banks, like I get it. I totally get it. I mean, what did Javon Kinlaw get drafted? 12, 13, 14, something like that. It was right around there.
Yeah, right around the same range, 13 or 14, I think it was.
Yeah, and you draft Javon Kinlaw because it's the same thing. He's just an insane athlete at his size, but never really panned out for the consistency that he's needed throughout his NFL career at a couple of different spots. So he's fine. Like, he's a fine player on the defensive line, has that plus length to him, good athleticism, good overall strength, but he just didn't turn into that player that was able to consistently give you a lot. I think that Banks can be a better pass rusher than Javon Kinlaw. He's a better pass rusher even at his best than what Kinlaw was coming out of South Carolina, but that's sort of what worries me a little bit here. You've thrown out the Travis Jones comp and how if Banks becomes more consistent, he feels like what Travis Jones kind of was this past year. But are you drafting Travis Jones at 14? Probably not. You would need him to be a lot better than that. So, anyways, we talked a lot about this. Let's go with Vega Owane here at 14.
I'm in on that. I mean, anything, again, both Mendoza and I think the support for Ashton Ginty makes a ton of sense there. Now, the interesting thing is if we were to go somewhere else in this spot, there's Emmanuel Pregnon sitting right there. He's a player I like. But also, you mentioned defensive tackle. There's two really good ones sitting right there. One of them can help you as a more, stout, just gap stuffer when it comes to Kristen Miller. And then the other's a playmaker and Lee Hunter, who I like them both. I have Hunter 3 and Miller 4 in my D tackle rankings, but two different styles of players that talent-wise are probably pretty equal.
I would, without question, be taking Christian Miller here. Without question. I think he is so much better in what you want him to be in the Raiders front specifically than Lee Hunter is. Lee Hunter is much more of if you watch that Oregon game from Lee Hunter, you think he's a first-round pick, like no question about it. The way that he was able to get in the backfield, how free he was to be a one-gapping, attacking defensive tackle, that is when he was at his best. But there are other games that I've watched in the middle and the beginning parts of that season where if he is not ears pinned back, obvious passing situation, obviously just asked to get into the backfield, that lack of explosiveness that we saw at the combine, like that will show up from him consistently. Sometimes he will get really pushed off the ball if he doesn't fix his pad level or if he's not consistent with his pad level. So Christian Miller, I don't worry about any of that. The hands are always exactly where they need to go. I love how second nature it is for him to drop the hips, drop the knee, drop the feet, to be able to anchor and hold against single blocks and double teams. He is an elite run defender. He showcased that this past season. Christian Miller is the player that they actually need on that interior defensive line, if you ask me.
I have no issue with that at all. He's an elite run stopper. I think he's even got a little bit more movability than just sitting in the A-gaps as the nose guard all the time. I think he can play across the front when you need him to. If they want to get into five-man fronts, he could even play the 4-eye or the 5. I mean, he's just, to me, I think this is the right range for him to go somewhere, maybe in the very late first or early second like this. But Miller's one of the safest players, I think, to project within the top 40, 45 players in this class. I'm in on that. I think that immediately makes the run defense a lot better. And, of course, just add another Georgia Bulldog to it. We're just going to take the Eagles strategy to this, aren't we?
Somebody say, can you scroll up and see who the Denver Broncos picked? Can you scroll up real quick?
Oh, sure. Denver, Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
Yeah, good pick.
Okay. All right, I'm in on that. Got some interesting ones there. Casey Concepcion in New England. That's fun. Omar Cooper. Right. What didn't I say? Omar Cooper to San Francisco. It makes sense. I'm telling you.
With Mike Evans?
Yes, because it's not redundant. So I think the Niners could still take a Cooper or a Concepcion to add the yards after catch back into their offense. There's not a chance they should take Denzel Boston. That would be too redundant there to Evans. Does that make sense? They could still absolutely go wide receiver. Just one of the smaller yards after catch guys that can add that part back into it.
Okay, let's say Christian Miller.
Deal.
Christian Miller off the board, and then probably corner.
67.
Ooh, Igbinosun. Okay.
Igbinosun could make sense.
Could make sense for him.
Double up Dominique Orange.
I mean, they do need a lot of help on the interior. I don't think they double up with Orange, though. Who's left at corner other than Igbinosun?
Let's see. Corners. Chandler Rivers, don't hate it. Devin Moore.
Devin Moore, I feel they might be more interested in, just given the overall athleticism and his length. Safety, too. Who's left at safety?
Let's say.
Anybody interesting? No, not really.
Genesis.
Man, those safeties went.
Zachy, yeah. Corner makes a lot of sense. They re-signed Eric Stokes. They still have Darian Porter, like you mentioned. See if there's any. I mean, they could go off the edge, too, maybe. They re-signed Malcolm Kuntz for one more year. They got Kwity Paye. But, I mean, it doesn't hurt to add talent either with somebody like a Denai Dennis Sutton.
I would be so worried that Dennis Sutton is just another Tyree Wilson, who you did not name. And there's a reason why you did not name.
Romello Height. Maybe. I know we're going back to Tyree Wilson is a Texas Tech guy, but we know Height can get pressure even as a DPR and a rotational guy. That could help you.
Right.
Anything you do to fix it, to help fix this Raiders defense, it pretty much. The only spot I might not go is linebacker, considering the signings. But anything you can do at any level of this Raiders defense, I'm not going to argue too much with.
Or do we go Surratt to pair with Mendoza?
We could. Surratt, Naylor, Tucker, Besh, Thornton. You're going to have some competition there in that receiver room for sure. But hey, whoever wins out, wins out.
I would say it's between Elijah Surratt and Romello Height.
Oh, you're off of the corner thing. Okay.
Yeah, because they do have Porter. And I like the corners that are left.
I kind of like the idea of Height here. I mean, we know he can rush the passer. He's just undersized, and you might not want him right now out there all three downs. But you've got Kuntz, you've got Kwity Paye, and I think those guys. Obviously, Kuntz with the knee injury hasn't been the same, and Paye has been always kind of inconsistent as a pass rusher. To add somebody with just some sort of juice off of the edge, I don't hate that one bit. No.
Okay. All right. Let's take Romello Height.
Romello Height, good player, good defense, Texas Tech.
He's a very solid draft. Very solid draft here for the Las Vegas Raiders. Mendoza obviously at the top. And then we went with Vega One. I discussed a lot of different options for them, but getting Vega there, Christian Miller, Romello Height, he's very solid.
It's a good offseason. You look at all the guys they've signed, you're going to get your franchise quarterback. Your offensive line looks like it's...
Are we getting a B+ here? Oh, no. A-. Okay.
A-. We're living. Look at that. A+ pick first overall. How could you miss?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's probably doing some of the heavy lifting. But Vega, I think, is probably listed as a C because I don't have guard as one of their most major needs right now. But if the talent fits what they would want to upgrade there, obviously it makes sense. Romello Height, obviously giving them a designated pass rusher to feel good about. There we go. There's a little Raiders mock draft to supplement some exciting moves that they've made very early on here in free agency. Okay, Dalton, think about which team or signing that you want to talk about next, and I'll talk to people about draft risers, because every week on draft risers, we're highlighting players that are climbing up draft boards as teams get deeper into the evaluation process. These guys are rising because decision makers are getting more confident in the full profile, not just chasing some traits. Our draft riser over the last couple of weeks is the one and only Sonny Styles, so much so that, man, he is in talks to go top 5 overall. I think maybe 5 to the Giants feels like the floor at this point with his incredible combine that we're seeing there on the screen, some unreal numbers to go along with some impressive game tape. Sonny Styles definitely that big riser, and when you're trying to identify risers like that, it's not about guessing, it's about having better tools, better data, and a better process. That same approach applies to when you are making decisions about your own money as well. If you want to make smarter picks with your portfolio, Tasty Trade gives you the advanced tools and data to do so. You guys could trade stocks, options, futures, and so much more all in one platform. The platform includes backtesting and risk analysis to help you plan ahead and manage your risk. You get live support from Tasty Trade's experienced trade desk reps during trading hours. There's dozens of educational courses that you guys can access with your free account as well. Whether you're an active trader, long-term investor, or planning for retirement, Tasty Trade has account types to fit your goals. Visit tastytrade.com/PFF today. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. All right, my friend. The floor is yours. Where are we going next?
I think we should go to Nashville, Tennessee, and talk about this just massive haul that the Tennessee Titans brought in yesterday for a whole lot of money. And Trev, I think I have a new nickname for Robert Saleh. I think I have a new nickname. I think we're going to start calling him the Bouncer, because if you know him, he will let you into the club. That's exactly what I think we should. And you know what I think, considering how much he's the workout warrior and he's running all his stairs and all of that. I think he would kind of dig that nickname, because it just feels like it's not every single one, but it's most of them. It feels like every single player that Robert Saleh's bringing in, and he kind of sort of did this with the Jets. You got to know him, or in this case, you have to know Brian Daboll. And that was kind of the case, too, even previously with the short Rodgers and Saleh era there with Nathaniel Hackett, that it was kind of the same. You know, if you know him, you can get into the club. And right now, there's a lot of people being let into this club in Nashville that Robert Saleh or Brian Daboll knows. I mean, you look at John Franklin Myers, played with Saleh in New York. Cordell Flott played with Daboll in New York. Wan'Dale Robinson played with Daboll. Daniel Bellinger played with Daboll. They traded for Jermaine Johnson, played with Saleh for the Jets in New York. Obviously, there's a couple other names in there. They completely overhauled this cornerback room. Cordell Flott, obviously, coming over from the Giants with Daboll. Alontae Taylor is going to play in the slot. Josh Williams is interesting because played a lot of special teams this year for the Chiefs, but didn't really get in on defense very much at all. Fell out of the rotation. Only played 17 snaps all year on defense for Kansas City, which is odd because he's a talented player, but they're overhauling the cornerback room and they're bringing in a whole lot of guys that they're familiar with, both Saleh and Daboll. So, I don't know that this is necessarily an A-plus haul. I think there's a lot of guys that come with some risk. I think Alontae Taylor at $20 million a year. He's coming off his best season in New Orleans for sure, but that carries some risk considering his previous track record. And Wan'Dale Robinson coming off his first 1,000-yard season, but had over 130 targets this past year because Malik Neighbors was hurt. So really kind of scratching it out there in a Giants offense that was trying to, come from behind in a lot of these games. I'm very in between on this because Tennessee, they had a boatload of money to spend, and obviously they had to do something, but do we think this set of players is the right way to go about it? And is this enough for Cam Ward now to feel like he can have success on this team?
The one burning question that I have for the Tennessee Titans now at this point is, why is L'Jarius Sneed still on this team?
That's a good question.
Why is Sneed still on the team? I don't understand.
I'm gonna see if there's a cap implication. Unless they're signing. Unless it's a 2-year deal.
Zero guaranteed money on his deal the next 2 years. If they release him and designate him as a post-June 1 cut, they save $15.5 million on the cap this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that point, you can get into the offensive line market, which they haven't touched yet. They need a center and a right guard right now. So I'm with you. I mean, again, Josh Williams, I don't know the terms yet on the Josh Williams contract. I don't think it is a 2-year deal, and he barely played. So maybe that's just a depth sort of signing. And maybe Sneed is still a starter, and they feel like it's going to be.
There's no way. There's no way. He's been so disappointing as a player. It's a completely new coaching staff.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just telling you. I mean, it's a matter of maybe the draft, and maybe they'll actually cut him after June 1st instead of just the designation. Who knows? But no, I'm with you. I mean, this is where I'm kind of in between on all of it, right? Between cornerback and L'Jarius Sneed still being there and this set of players, right? Taylor's going to start. Flott is going to start for sure. And we'll see what that other spot looks like.
Josh Williams will probably start.
I don't know if he'll start if Sneed is there. It depends on the money because Williams, again, he only played 17 snaps on the Chiefs defense this year. He was just a special teamer this past year. So I don't know what was going on there. He got passed up by Noel Williams, and obviously Jalen Watson and McDuffie were starting. I mean, the Chiefs could probably use Josh Williams right about now. But and then I just wonder, is this really enough weaponry for Cam Ward? Is Wan'Dale Robinson and Daniel Bellinger enough? I mean, you've got Gunnar Helm as your other tight end. You've got Chimere Dike and Elik Ayamaner, but it still feels like something's missing there, right? Like wide receiver could still be an option 4th overall with a Carnell Tate or somebody like that. I don't know. And this edge group, and the edge group too. I mean, John Franklin Myers is kind of a tweener, but he's going to play inside for the most part. You got Jermaine Johnson, but I still wonder between Sneed, like you mentioned, the edge group, and still at wide receiver, I still feel like they have multiple needs that were the same as before heading into this draft.
Yeah, I mean O-line, edge rusher, and running back. I think those are the three big positions if you ask me for them. I mean, they could potentially go linebacker, although Cedric Gray was pretty good for them last year, racking up a ton of tackles, and I know that tackles are a misleading stat sometimes, but at least he brings you a decent floor in run defense. That's kind of what I'm saying here. You've got Cody Barton as well, but hey, is Sonny Styles on the board for you at number 4? Because if it's not him, I think that they'll probably roll with the linebackers that they have. Edge rush, yeah, I mean, they've got Femi Oladejo, who maybe could develop for them, but Femi was sort of a project player anyways, going from off-ball linebacker to on-ball edge rusher, and he's not a part of the staff that drafted him, at least the coaching staff. Mike Borgonzi was still there, but the coaching staff that drafted him is not there. So maybe they believe in him, but I think those are the positions. I still think that they have to answer the J.C. Latham question. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? You got to figure that out. And yeah, I think that addressing the offensive line is kind of the last big piece of the puzzle here for a Tennessee offseason that, even though they're not earth-shattering moves, to be honest with you, raises the floor of this team exponentially from what it was last season. And I think that that's really important in year 2 of your franchise quarterback's rookie contract. So I do like the moves that Robert Saleh, a.k.a. the bouncer, which as much as I hate to give it to you, I do have to give it to you for that. I like the moves that he has made there. So... Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Titans? Because we did get a super chat that I want to get to.
The secondary is definitely better. I think the offensive side I would question, and certain moves, we'll probably talk about this when we do our next mock or whenever we get to it, but certain moves throughout free agency, I do wonder about Jeremiah Love landing spots, and it does feel like the Titans are not at least off the board there like some other teams have taken themselves off of it.
Taters World gave us a $5 super chat, top of the show. I had missed it, so apologies on this one. But Brian Thomas Jr. trade value. Is he 2024, 1,200 yards, or the 2025 bust? Best fit, Kansas City, New York Giants, the Patriots. Where is he versus this draft class? Only 2 years left on his rookie deal. The Brian Thomas Jr. situation is a fascinating one to me, because I don't really think we're having this conversation if it's completely fabricated. Like, I think that we're at the point where this would have gotten shut down pretty quickly and pretty emphatically if there wasn't something here. The tough part about trade value for Brian Thomas Jr., though, Dalton, is not just the fact that he was good as a rookie and then not great in 2025. What's the trade value for him? Because he looked like he could be a special player for you his rookie season. So if you're the Jags, with even just his rookie season under his belt and the film of that out there, I don't think you take anything less than a second-round pick for him. But if he's available for trade, I think every other team in the NFL goes, all right, well, why are you trading him? Because I don't really believe the whole he's not a scheme fit is the whole story here. You don't get rid of a talented playmaker like that if they're not quite a scheme fit. And the best coaches, anyways, change their scheme to match what their players are best at. And if you don't think Liam Cohen can't do that, I got news for you. He's a lot better of a coach than that. So if Brian Thomas Jr. is truly on the trading block, it's because they don't believe in Brian Thomas Jr. And at that point, are you giving up a second-round pick for a player that the team that drafted him is already giving up on 2 years into his rookie deal? Now, a lot of what I'm saying is speculation, because that's kind of all I have to go from. Because if you want me to be honest, no way Jacksonville should be trading Brian Thomas Jr. Absolutely not, especially if you're moving Travis Hunter more towards the full-time cornerback work. But when it comes to trade value, if I'm another team out there, I'm not offering you a second-round pick for a player that you clearly don't believe in. And if I'm Jacksonville, I have a hard time giving him up for anything less than a second-round pick. So I think the value of this situation versus how talented this player is, even for an up and down first 2 years of his career, it makes this tough. It makes this a very tough player to predict where he's going to go and for what.
This is a hard one, because you mentioned it. I think the correct theory is if there's smoke, there's fire, right? And obviously, if they're not totally shopping him, it's been said that they're at least taking calls on it. And I think for Thomas, the hard part to figure out is what type of player is he, right? We know he's got explosive speed. We know he's a deep threat. He's a guy who can win vertically. He can run by safeties at will, right? And that's obviously something that's highly coveted throughout the league. And the flaws with him coming out of the draft were a bit stiff as a route runner, not that creative after the catch. Really, is he just a linear type of athlete? The hard part about reading his rookie year in Jacksonville is that the second half of the year, actually, when he was playing Mac Jones, because Mac Jones just doesn't have much arm to throw deep balls consistently, they used Thomas. He was used in a more movable role, and that was in Doug Peterson's offense still, but he was used in a more movable role where he could win horizontally and after the catch. And then that just kind of went away in Liam Cohen's offense when he was using Parker Washington more. They traded for Jacoby Myers to move the chains more, obviously. And there were the same complaints, too, about Travis Hunter early in the year, is why are we not using this guy vertically enough? And early in the season, Trevor Lawrence was missing some of those vertical throws when he had opportunities. So what skill set is it? Is Brian Thomas Jr. more well-rounded? Or is he just a deep threat? And I think that also changes his trade value and the teams that he can go to. If you feel like he can be that more well-rounded player you saw flashes of in his rookie year, then there should be teams lining up out the door for him, right? Or, like you mentioned, Jacksonville should keep him. And if they're going to play Travis Hunter 90% at corner, they should probably keep Thomas. And even if he's just a deep threat, he can get vertical more so than Myers or Washington or Brenton Strange will, right? So I think they certainly don't have to trade him, but the fact that they're listening on a player like this so early in his career, you mentioned it. Should there be concerns from the other side? Is it a fit problem in Cohen's offense that he would fit in somewhere else better? Who should be the teams that do this? Because we've heard the Jets, we've heard the Giants. Who is going to be able to maximize whatever his skill set is and how deep that is? This is one of the harder situations to read right now, because I think there's a place for him in Jacksonville's offense if Liam Cohen wants there to be. He's different from most of the pretty much every other receiver
100%.
that they have. But is he so different and is he so out of place in Cohen's offense that they should just find a top 75 pick value for him? It's an odd situation to look at with a player with so much talent.
Again, I just don't believe that he's not a scheme fit thing. I just don't. Every great coach will tell you adjust your scheme to the talented players that you have. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a talented player. So if you're giving up on him, I don't believe the scheme thing. Fans out there who are like, oh, he's just not a scheme for Cohen's offense, let's trade for him. I just don't believe that. So that's what makes this pretty tricky. Brayton gave us a $2 super chat saying, can you add the comp picks to the mock draft simulator? I believe they are all already in there. At least they should already be in there. If you see a pick that is missing, let us know. But I believe all the comp picks, because they were announced yesterday, should be updated and in the mock draft simulator. Wisco gave us a $5 super chat, said, when do you think Rasheed Walker and Romeo Doubs get signed and where? What are the projected comp picks for Green Bay next year? That I don't know. I'm not really great at the comp pick formula. I'm just a draft guy. But when it comes to Rasheed Walker and Romeo Doubs, I think Doubs is I think he is a really solid player. I feel like he's getting underrated even in this wide receiver free agency class. Felt like he was underrated when he was in Green Bay as well. Do you have any potential landing spots for Romeo Doubs? Because I would have loved that spot for him in Vegas. Like, I would have taken Romeo Doubs over Jalen Naylor, honestly, with the Raiders. I felt like that was a pretty strong one. The Commanders, I think, could also be a good landing spot for him because I think they need more in their receiver room. Now with Deebo Samuel as a free agent for them, it's basically just Luke McCaffrey. I know they re-signed Treylon Burks, but like Luke McCaffrey, Treylon Burks, and Terry McLaurin. But Terry unfortunately missed a lot of last season as well. So I know Dobbs has the concussion issues with him too. So you think about availability, but I do like Dobbs for those two spots of those two teams with him still out there.
The Commanders make a lot of sense. I mean, they re-signed Treylon Burks, but they really need a starting, consistent caliber player. I think San Francisco could still make sense despite adding Mike Evans. I don't know that they'll do it. They might attack that in the draft more. The Giants stick out to me. The Giants still need one more wide receiver to add in. I
wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, the Giants are one. Tennessee's not going to do it. They probably just won't with one.
J47 says the Panthers. Obviously the Panthers wide receiver situation is very interesting because they have Jalen Coker, who you feel good about as a wide receiver 3, sort of that slot player. McMillan can do it all for you as that wide receiver 1. They do need a wide receiver 2, and I think that's exactly what Dobbs is. In theory, I don't hate it if the price tag is right. No. Because then again, you're it's a lot of young receivers anyways, right? Coker's in the second year, or
Coker's in his third year.
He'd be in his third year. Yeah. Coker would be in his third year. McMillan would be in his second year. I think you'd kind of want to vet in that room. So I didn't really think about Carolina, but I don't hate it for him to be the wide receiver 2 in Carolina.
I think the ones, at least depending on how much they want to pay, to me that makes sense. I think the Commanders was a good call. I think the Giants make a lot of sense. And the Saints have yet to attack wide receiver at all. I know there's been a lot of talk possibly about 8th overall, but I think the Saints might be one that stick out to me. Some of these other teams, like Atlanta, I know they signed Olamide Zaccheaus, but Atlanta would make sense too. I just don't know about the money and what Dobbs is looking for. They don't have a ton of cash to spend. Yeah, I think those are the 3 for me. Commanders, Giants, Saints. And all in similar situations where they're just looking for a solid second guy of pretty much basically of Dobbs' caliber. The question is, all of those teams are picking in the top 8, and how much would they consider to varying degrees receiver in the draft as well?
Ravens, I don't hate that either.
Oh, good call. Baltimore would be a good one too.
Baltimore is a really good call.
I just don't know that. Again, they're a money issue where it makes a ton of sense. They could use a Romeo Dobbs, but I don't know if they have enough cash to do it.
Yeah, I think I like Commanders, Saints, Ravens the most for Dobbs.
That's reasonable.
Landing spots there.
Yeah,
I do think the Carolina's a wild card. I don't know if they'll do it, but I do like the idea of them adding the veteran there.
If they get him at a lower price, I wouldn't hate him in Cleveland either. They need something. They have yet to attack wide receiver.
Yeah.
They've been attacking offensive line with Titus Howard and Zion Johnson, but they haven't attacked wide receiver at all either. I wouldn't hate him in Cleveland just to get something in there.
How do we feel about the Seahawks retaining Josh Jobe, prioritizing Josh Jobe over Tariq Woolen, by the way, and then also re-signing Rashid Shaheed, who, it's funny, like right before free agency opened, it was like, oh, well, see you, Rashid Shaheed. Thanks for everything. The trade was worth it. Won a Super Bowl. And then I think the Seahawks lost a lot of their guys, and they were like, oh, all right, well, guess we have more money than we thought. And they bring back Rashid Shaheed. What do you think about those moves?
I think Jobe is a really good signing. I think Tariq Woolen is about to get more money than Jobe just got. Jobe got 3 years and $24 million from the Seahawks. I think for what he gave them this past year, that's a really good deal. There's a lot of rumors around Woolen, surrounding Woolen about certain teams, possibly even the Green Bay Packers trying to load up and go get him. But Jobe is a good signing at 3 and 24. Shaheed is more interesting because he got $17 million a year, and when you really look at the totality of what he did for this team, now he's a very good deep threat and obviously one of the best returners in football, but I'm going to find it now. He didn't do actually a huge volume. He didn't have a huge volume of production for Seattle in their offense. Let me see. After he joined Seattle, he caught 18 passes in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 18 passes in 12 games. So I know you have this home run threat, and obviously when Shaheed is healthy, he's a really good deep threat, but $17 million a year for a lower volume player who is obviously he's got blazing speed and adds to your offense and a very good kick returner. It's in with the contrast of them paying Shaheed that and letting Kenneth Walker go. And I know, again, positional value and distributing your salary cap and all that is, but Shaheed getting 17 versus Kenneth Walker getting 14, and how valuable Walker was to their offense on a snap-to-snap basis and led the NFL in rushing grade. I think that's the part I might question a little bit more. The Jobe signing I really like for that value, and it leaves them less barren at corner, but it's spending that much on Shaheed when they passed up on Walker, and now to me have a major hole at running back with not a very clear solution for it. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like, sometimes organizations, and I don't blame them for this because you've got to be right with the numbers, right? The NFL draft, sometimes it's all about a game, right? It's about intel and where guys are getting picked, okay? And then what's the value that they're bringing versus where you're picking them versus, when it comes to their rookie contracts versus their market value. Like, that's a game. Free agency is a game, right? You're trying to game this stuff as best as you can when it comes to, again, market value specifically for positions, overpaying for some positions, getting some deals on some other positions, and figuring out which ones matter the most towards your team. I think when people look, independently, the argument that you just made, like if you were to just say, hey, who means more to this team and who would you rather give more money to, Rashid Shaheed or Kenneth Walker? I think everybody would go, well, yeah, Kenneth Walker, of course. But in reality, the market of how wide receivers are paid versus how running backs are paid, that's how we maybe get a little bit siloed in our analysis and what we're offering certain guys, because we're trying to play the market as much as you are, bringing back good football players. So it's just it is a very interesting point that you brought up there. When you look at the money just as the money, the numbers, I think it's kind of funny to see how much they gave Rashid Shaheed versus maybe overpaying for Kenneth Walker and giving him that exact contract and maybe feeling a little bit better about it. But you're trying to also play the market a ton as well. That's why there's so many cap guys around the league to try to be as best versus the margins as you possibly can be. We got some breaking news that we want to analyze and get to here. But before we get to that, some context really quickly on the Tennessee Titans. Justin Graver sent me this on Twitter. He was watching the show, obviously. L'Jarius Sneed's still on the roster because he has a $7.5 million injury guarantee, and after ending the season on IR, it's unclear if he could pass a physical currently. They have until March 16th before that guarantee kicks in, so hopefully he clears medicals by then, and then they could cut him with no additional cap charge. So appreciate it, Justin. Thank you for giving it that context. It does make sense that would be why he is still on the roster there. The breaking news that I was going to talk about, though, Detroit Lions. No more David Montgomery, but adding running back Isaiah Pacheco to that running back room now. I think when you look at this on the surface level, good compliment to Jahmyr Gibbs. Isaiah Pacheco obviously has had a lot of work on the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl runs over the past couple of seasons. He was not the same sort of back this past year. I think over the last couple of years, even working through some injuries, certainly with him, lacked that explosiveness. But he doesn't have to be the explosive guy in that offense now. That's all Jahmyr Gibbs, and you really just get to feast on some of those short yardage situations. Hey, lower the shoulder, get us some yards after contact, certainly the goal line stuff as well. So to me, Dalton, even for Isaiah Pacheco's shortcomings, I think that this is a really nice fit here for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think it's a good move on his part, especially when you look at just, again, you mentioned that he hasn't looked the same since, I believe it was the ankle injury he had a couple of years ago. Just the explosiveness and even the ability to fight for yards after contact hasn't quite been the same, and it hasn't been a very good run-blocking unit the last couple of years for Kansas City, too. So he gets to play a little bit less. He's not the feature guy, obviously, with Jahmyr Gibbs there, and I think he can be that good physical complement for Gibbs. Behind an offensive line, we like the underrated signing there of Cade Mays at center. You've got Tate Ratledge, you've got Penei Sewell, and everyone and their mother is going to mock the Lions a left tackle at 17. We'll see where that goes, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Both, he's still only 26 years old. He's really young. I think he can still add something to a backfield. He's got some pass-catching ability as well, and I think, again, to be the clear number 2 back behind the superstar in Jahmyr Gibbs, this makes a lot of sense. I like this for Detroit after trading away Montgomery for a pretty good price. I got a decent return for Montgomery as well.
You said that he's only 26, which maybe do a double take. He is 27 because he just turned 27 like 5 days ago.
He turned 27. Okay.
Yeah,
no, wait.
Yeah. But
Did
still, you saying that, I was like, that can't be right. He's been around forever. It feels like he's been around forever. He really hasn't. He was in the 2022 draft.
Oh, we have him. Oh, how about that? In our system, we have his birthday a year off. We have it says 2000 here on our website, and it's actually 99.
Wikipedia says 1999. So I don't know.
Interesting.
We got to ask him ourselves.
Is that like which movie is that? The Bad News Bears? I Am 12, right? Is it the Bad News Bears? That new version?
No, that's Benchwarmers.
No, it's Benchwarmers. Sorry, I knew it was one. I knew it was one of them. Yeah, we're not doing that sort of thing around here. Okay, Pacheco's 27. We'll have to get that looked at in our system. We gotta find it.
Wisco also asked us about Rasheed Walker, who is still a free agent. Do you have any Rasheed Walker thoughts?
I mean, the obvious one, he's a starting caliber tackle, so that should be extremely valuable. And those guys, I think about somebody like, say, a Jermaine Illuminor, who just got $13 million a year. I'm sure Walker is probably looking for something in that range, $13 to $15 million a year. I think the immediate one, you think about the Cleveland Browns, right? If you're a team looking for a left tackle, it's the Browns, and they've already been spending money on their offensive line. I think you'd have a more fun question if he could flip over to the right side. Would the Arizona Cardinals be a fit? Would the Raiders feel like that's an upgrade on their right side? I'm just combing through some of these options here. Houston, but they re-signed Trent Brown for at least for 1 year, so maybe not. The Chiefs. I think if Walker could play the other side, there's more options. I don't know if that they would start him over Broderick Jones, but I think the Steelers could think about it if they feel like it's an upgrade. There's definitely a place. I mean, there's always a place for a starting caliber tackle. Both of those guys on the screen right there are two of the more interesting names because Taylor Decker now being released from Detroit and also not probably going to be an option for the Bears with the connection with Ben Johnson. I mean, you got two starting caliber left tackles right here that both need to be signed somewhere. And, I another one at right. Well, no, not because Caleb McGarry's coming back. I was going to say Atlanta. But how about Carolina? Same division. I mean, if either of them wanted to take a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract, I think, again, this offensive line, we talked a lot about the defensive improvements in Carolina. Offensive line, center and left tackle are two big-time needs right now in Carolina. Why not Rasheed Walker? Maybe if his market dried up.
Who's their left tackle right now? Carolina's. Without Icky.
I don't even think they've re-signed Josh Nijman yet, right?
And Brady Christensen, they haven't re-signed either.
And they've been using him more on the interior anyway. I think
the longer that Rasheed Walker goes unsigned, the better that could be for Carolina. Right?
Like, could he end up not getting the market he thought, and he gets the same 1 year and $10 million as Braxton Jones, kind of the prove it deal?
Right. I don't know if he's gonna. Man, 1 year, $10 million for Rasheed Walker. That would be great for Carolina, I think.
Yeah, without Nijman re-signed, I don't really know who would start at left tackle. I don't even know, to be honest. I don't know who would start at center. I think center is going to be a conversation we got to have about Carolina.
Austin Corbett could start at center for them, right? Oh no, he's a free agent too.
Yes.
Damn.
Right. So, I mean, day two, there's going to be a day two conversation about centers in Carolina as well, the Jake Slaughter, Gator Greats of the world. Yeah, Walker. See, it's funny because Walker and Decker, I don't think it's a matter of need in them. They're going to play somewhere. They're going to start somewhere. I think price tag is a big conversation with both of them because starting caliber tackles, that's going to cost you 13 to 15 a year, or in the case of Braxton Jones coming off an injury, at least 10. Right? The Browns are the obvious one for Walker, especially. He's only 26, and you could get a starting left tackle at that age.
Yeah,
but they've already spent an absolute boatload of money on Titus Howard and Zion Johnson.
Yeah.
So
there's give us
plenty of places where they would both fit, especially if they could play on the right side too.
Sure. Yeah, that flexibility would be. I agree with you. That'd be big. Wisco gave us a $5 super chat, another one. How real do you think the trade talk is for Jalen Carter and Green Bay? I don't buy it, as Green Bay only has a 2028 first rounder that they can currently trade. Again, Jalen Carter getting traded it's the same conversation with Brian Thomas Jr., right? The value that Philadelphia is going to want for how good the player is not going to match up for other teams wanting to acquire the player of why he's on the trading block. The only reason why Jalen Carter would be on the trading block for the Philadelphia Eagles is because they don't believe in Jalen Carter. And then at that point, Jalen Carter is unbelievably talented, but then other teams have to think about that as well, especially because, what's Jalen Carter's contract at this point? What's he got, 2 years left, 1 year left?
Was that 2023? So you're talking about one in the 5th year option, it should be, right?
One in the 5th year option, one in the bonus. Yeah, so it's this year, and then you got the club option next year, which you could pick up, but you'll have to pay him or give him an extension within the next year because you're trading for a player that clearly you would think pretty highly of, given his talent level. So, again, I have no idea what to believe with the Jalen Carter trade. And to be honest with you, if he gets traded, I think there's a good chance it's for a lot less than what you would expect Jalen Carter should be going for. So I have no idea how real that this is. It's just the rumors that we're kind of evaluating as they're whispers that have been getting a little bit louder, but it's hard to predict trade value for a player that very clearly should not be getting moved and what they're going to get moved for. So many times the value just does not match up in that way. And a lot of times I feel like it's much more likely it's an underpay for what you think more than an overplay. The Hunter Colt, $2 super chat. Can you guys do a Rams mock? Also, what do the Rams need in free agency? I don't know what they need anymore in free agency.
Sure. We can't 3-round Rams mock. If we can pull that up again, we could do that. Why not? Sure, that's the fun part. We can do whatever we want. To a certain extent.
What do the Rams need in free agency? Nothing anymore. Long-term outlook at some offensive line spots.
Kicker, special teams, work on punt returner, work on special teams a little bit because that's really probably their biggest weakness at this point.
Wide receiver long-term. maybe linebacker long term, but a lot of it is going to be some fun best player available approaches for them.
And that's the luxury. That's where you want to get into in the draft. If we, so I'm just trying to get it pulled up here. We're going to do a 3-round LA Rams mock because why not? And they still have this 13th overall pick, which is a whole lot of fun. I think I think that's still the way that I look at this trade, where you traded a lot of assets, obviously, for draft picks, but essentially you got McDuffie and Watson. If we think about it like that, that's a home run trade for the Rams here. So just got to pull it up here is all. We're gonna see where this goes. Here we go. All right, connected. We're getting there, Trev. We're working on it. You know the gears are turning here in Cincinnati. You know how this goes.
I'm just letting you continue to talk.
Yeah, why not? I can fill time. I've learned from the best how to kill time. And actually, I don't know if that means you and Max, or whatever Max is doing out there in Iceland right now. He's having fun out there, I'm sure.
Max in Iceland?
He's in, yeah, I think so. I think it's today. He might be on the way to Iceland. He's
wow.
got, so any input we get from Max is going to be in a way different time zone,
Brother, he's been responding to prospect questions that I've been throwing out at you guys over the last couple of days.
Well, he's a sicko. No matter what country, no matter what country he's in, he's still a sicko. I mean, that doesn't change at all.
Hey, when you got to get draft takes out there, you got to get them out there. I fully understand.
He might be watching the show right now on the plane. I don't know exactly where he is.
Honestly, if he's in Iceland taking PTO, I hope not. I hope he's not.
Maybe he wants to see what this Rams mock looks like, Trev. Could be the best team in football. He's very curious to see what we have to say about the Rams.
They brought in Trent McDuffie. They brought in Jalen Watson. They brought back Cam Curl. They have Cam Kinchins as well. They have Quentin Lake, who's playing in the slot for them. I'm just listing the secondary because a lot of people talk about secondary as the biggest need for the Rams going into the offseason. They've really hit that in a major way. So let's do a 3-round mock. Got number 13 overall. Don't have number 29 overall, but yeah, let's just start draft and see what we got here. I feel as though strong best player available approach at a couple of different spots. This isn't the only pick either. They got 13. They got a second rounder and they got a third rounder as well.
Oh, this is fun. Because I've told you over the past week or so, maybe yesterday. It feels like it's been a week since yesterday. I'd be so in on wide receiver here. I'd be so in on Mekhi Lemon in this offense.
I think the first 3 guys on the board make a lot of sense for them, right? You get Monroe Freeling. He's the developmental offensive tackle that you feel good about starting at some point over the next year or two. Kenyon Sadiq, adding him to the tight end room.
14 personnel.
Right.
Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen.
Lemon, I think is so ideal for this team. To me, he's cut from the same cloth of the way that Puka Nacua plays the game. Just how competitive they are, how strong those dudes are. Everything that they could do for you at all 3 levels. I like all 3 of those options for him at the top of the draft board there.
I think receiver, for as much as there's the fun fantasy football element to it, I think it does actually make a lot of sense when you consider they're going to have to find value at receiver because very, very soon they're going to be paying Puka Nacua an absolute boatload of money, probably going to be the highest paid receiver in the league. And Devontae Adams still only has 2026 left on his contract here. So if you're really making the future play of staying dynamic in this receiver room with Nacua making all that money, I would take Mekhi Lemon here. I would do it. And then for this year, you're also talking about the win now mentality you have. Mekhi Lemon can help you in the slot right now. I mean, and you've just got those 3 guys right there with Nacua and Adams and Lemon, and then all of the tight ends and the run game and every other darn thing the Rams have. I mean, to me, that's where I would go. I would have a lot of fun with this offense with Mekhi Lemon in it.
You don't have to convince me too hard or twist my arm, as the saying goes, to draft Mekhi Lemon.
Low moving costs, too. Very low moving costs. Right down the street.
He could stay in the same apartment. You're not even breaking a lease.
You want to talk about value? That's it right there.
I know.
They don't even... Low moving costs are everything. Those are going to Nacua.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what we say on the NFL Stock Exchange. Low moving costs, baby.
It's a good call, man.
Okay, let's take Mekhi Lemon here at 13. Let's see what else we got available afterwards.
I'm in on it. Now, see, now's the part where we can just mess around, really. I mean, this team is so good. Kicker, second round. Let's do it. Come on, Trev.
No, I've had enough kickers in the second round in my lifetime. I'm not gonna manifest that.
Okay,
again,
it was just a thought, we're just thinking.
Trayden Stukes is very interesting for me because he plays a lot in the slot, and if you believe in Quentin Lake in the slot, then I know they gave him a new contract, so probably not. But he's a really good slot defender, and I think he's a really, really good football player. Jake Golday, I also like potentially to be an on or off ball linebacker here.
What about?
I think he makes sense.
What about Kyle Lewis? What about, because I know they have Landman and Spates are really good, but if you wanted to get better in coverage at that level, even Jake Golday's a hell of an athlete too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Golday or Lewis could both make a lot of sense.
Golday, I think, makes more sense because Golday attacks the line of scrimmage a little bit more as well, so you could factor him into the blitz packages.
Man, this feels like an underrated player in this draft, doesn't it?
I agree.
Like Jake Golday is going to get real top 50 looks here.
He should, if you ask me.
I don't hate it. I don't hate Jake Golday. Just let it rip. Keep building this defense, the middle of this defense. I don't hate it at all. Let's do it.
I'm very cool with it.
Let's do that. So we've got Mekhi Lemon. We've got Jake Golday. And now, Markel Bell in those big duo schemes. What a monster that
It's
would be.
So funny. I have Markel Bell. What's he ranked there? 95th.
Yeah.
Where he is? I have no idea where to rank him. I mean, what do you do with this player? The strength is obvious, and weaknesses are so extremely obvious.
If there was a system he fits, now the way that
it's the Rams.
It's this or it's Houston with Nick Caley running essentially the same offense. Yeah.
I kind of don't hate this though, because you get him and he just gets to be, the backup developmental offensive tackle,
and just mauling people in the meantime.
Yeah, because they run power a lot now.
Let's see, Drew Aller. I'm not taking Drew Aller this early. Sorry, I'm not doing it. No, the quarterback thing will get talked about a lot. Just seeing if there's anybody else here.
Nope, they're not doing it. They're not going to do it. I mean, there's good players I could convince myself of, but why wouldn't you take Markel Bell?
We could convince ourselves of anybody. That's true. No, I think I'm probably with you. I'm looking through these options, and especially a lot of these receiver options we don't need. We already went linebacker. Dante Corleone to me is redundant to Tyler Davis. You could do it, but it's not really a point to it. I think I'm with you. Let's take probably the biggest player in this draft, 6'9", 345. Yeah, I'm in on it. Why not?
Okay, let's take Markel Bell. Do it. And you're taking a chance getting a supersized offensive tackle prospect in the late third round. And if it works out for you, you feel great about getting a starting caliber offensive tackle prospect.
I'm in on it.
This to me was best player available type of draft here for the Rams.
Yeah.
This is how you still keep your foot on the gas throughout the whole offseason to be Super Bowl favorites. Right?
It's just the fact to me that they did everything they did and they still got to keep the 13th overall pick. And again,
draft, baby. Look at us. Look at us.
Of course. We got an A- and an A today. And honestly, the first one, we convinced ourselves that we deserved an A in that first one anyway.
I agree.
No question.
100%.
No question here. Look at that. We got everything. We got low moving costs. We got size. We got length and girth, as Hugh Freeze always talked about. We got everything, Trev.
Needed
it.
Absolutely.
Got to have it. No lemon laws here needed. Nope.
All right. You pick where we're going next, and I'm going to talk about our game plan of the week. Our game plan of the week, presented by Western Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Our game plan of the week, I've talked about it a couple times, but since we just talked about the Los Angeles Rams, it's whatever Les Snead is doing to be Super Bowl favorites heading into next offseason. That is our game plan of the week. Because what they did with the trading of McDuffie, bringing back Cam Curl, getting Jalen Watson as well, and now the draft that we just put together, that's the game plan of the week. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should as well. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out, building your dynasty, or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. All right, Dalton, what's next? We've hit a lot. We've hit a lot here today. Recapping a lot of free. It's been a quiet free agency day. Really haven't had anything. I mean, Dawson Knox re-signed.
Feels like
Isaiah Pacheco.
Doesn't it feel like? It feels like there's some sort of hangover going. I don't remember this last year. I remember day 2 being a lot busier last year.
No, I felt like you were right. I felt like day 2 we were really firing on all cylinders as well. Things have definitely started to slow down a little bit.
I think let's go to the New York Giants. And there's Mike Garafolo's reporting just now that they're bringing back linebacker Micah McFadden. So you've got McFadden, you've got Tremaine Edmunds, and if we just go through the entire Giants haul real quick, you've got Tremaine Edmunds coming in from the Bears at 3 years and 36. They brought back Jermaine Illuminor as well at right tackle, 3 years and 39. Isaiah Likely, I think, is we talked about it a little bit yesterday. That's a very, very interesting signing. And I guess, it's John Harbaugh's taking the Robert Saleh method, going with the bouncer method here of bringing in guys that he knows, right? Ardarius Washington coming in to help the secondary as well. Brought in Greg Newsome 1 year and $8 million. I think the Giants, they're trying to fill out this defense, some of the holes on this defense, especially at the second level. I don't mind Edmunds and McFadden. Edmunds coming off his best year of his career in run defense, but struggles in coverage. So I still think, I don't know that McFadden, he has started a lot for them the last couple of years. I still think a Sonny Styles would absolutely be on the board. And also the freakish build and range of both Sonny Styles and Tremaine Edmunds in one defense is kind of wild to think about at linebacker. But I think they're leaving their options open when it comes to the first round of this draft as well. Could it be Jeremiah Love added in with Cam Skattebo and Devin Singletary in this backfield, right? Because I do like Skattebo and Singletary, but there's not a ton of speed there, right? You're talking about two guys that run, well, I think they both ran 4.65 it was at their respective combines. Love brings the home run element to the run game that you want. Rumors that they're also, of course, interested in Daniel Faalele, who was the right guard for Baltimore the last couple of years under Harbaugh, so I think that makes a lot of sense as they try to build this O-line, but it's starting to feel like you've got Jeremiah Love as an option. Wide receiver could be an option. Sonny Styles could be an option. I think cornerback maybe could be an option. Maybe they'd have to trade down a little bit from there, but they're leaving certainly their options open with that 5th overall pick. I think the one thing, the Isaiah Likely contract, and we talked about it yesterday, this is the most interesting one because you're paying a guy top 5 tight end money when he was never really the top guy in Baltimore, obviously, with Mark Andrews there. And what was the stat you had yesterday? He's never had 500 yards in a season.
Never had 500 yards in a single season.
I mean, plus you're letting Daniel Bellinger walk. He went to Tennessee. So you've got Likely and you've got Theo Johnson. And I don't know. That feels like for the money that it is, that's coming with some risk, and there were maybe some, and obviously Likely is young. He's going to be 26 years old soon, as long as this is correct. He's going to be 26 years old soon, and coming off a year where he dealt with some injuries and didn't have the contract year that he wanted to. But I think that's one that could really make or break this free agent class. Because if the receiving ability is there for sure, he's just never produced at a top level that, at least going into it, would warrant being paid like a top 5 tight end.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that he has to be your tight end one that you feel great about involving in the offense at all times, which I kind of do. I like what Isaiah Likely brings to the table. I like seeing him in a spot where he's going to have the chance to really produce at a high level. So it's expensive, don't get me wrong, but I do like the addition there. Illuminor makes a ton of sense. I like the Ardarius Washington and Greg Newsome moves. Those are some new bodies there that I think at least give you the flexibility, like you said, to attack number 5 overall the way that you want. I still think the offensive line, even with Illuminor, needs help, but you're giving yourself the flexibility to potentially trade back and feel good about like Spencer Fano or Vega Wane or even like Francis Mauigoa if you're trading back a little bit and he's still on the board. So I think offensive line additions are still very much in the cards for them when it comes to the top of their draft class. But I think they did a nice job. Hitting on a lot of their bigger needs with a new coaching staff, and I think the Giants are set up decently well here. We had a couple of super chats I wanted to get to. Let's see. Oh, Slam and Sammy said, Caleb Downs at pick 9, Banks at pick 14, and Vega at pick 16.
Okay, so Downs at 9 to Kansas City.
To the Chiefs, yes.
They just signed Alohi Gilman late last night. They have Shamari Connor. If there's somebody I'm missing back there.
Jaden Hicks, but Hicks was great his rookie year and then couldn't get on the field last year.
I mean, and to be honest, I'd move mountains for Caleb Downs anyway. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think secondary could be one way or the other. I think especially maybe corner even more so than Downs with a Mansour Delane could be very likely. Banks at 14, was it, to the Raiders now? Mm-hmm. That, I mean, if they want to take a heavy swing at talent and because the interior D-line needs help, that I think that makes sense. And I think Ioane to the Jets makes a ton of sense. And I've told you yesterday, the Jets' approach to me right now looks like build a credible defense, worry about the quarterback situation later, especially from Aaron Glenn's angle. And I actually think when you look at all the moves the Jets have made, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Demario Davis, Joseph Osai, trading for Tavondre Sweat, right? I think you look at it now, that looks like a much more credible defense than they ended the season with last year, right? And Glenn calling the plays now, taking that into his own hands, I think makes some sense if that's the goal, right? I think offensively, they really haven't touched anything, and that left guard spot is something that's going to be worth monitoring. They still have Josh Myers, I believe. You have Joe Tippmann at right guard, but if Ioane is there at 16, I have no issue with that. And I mean, you talk about building a young offensive line for whoever the quarterback is when they get there, and I think that's another conversation that can be had, especially with regards to say Kyler Murray or Geno Smith, because I think both of them are waiting on more likely Murray, who's first in line for the Minnesota job, right, to compete alongside J.J. McCarthy. I think Geno Smith might be waiting that out. And if he doesn't, because he was looking at Miami, because he's from basically right down the street from that stadium, but with them getting Malik Willis, that is no longer on the table. So if you've got Kyler in Minnesota, I think there's a very good chance you get Geno Smith for a year as a Band-Aid with the Jets, back with the Jets a second time, and they just build the rest of this team, and then we talk about quarterback in that 2027 class for the Jets.
Yeah, I like that outlook the most, honestly, for the Jets. Is I'm sure the Jets fans are tired of doing it, right? I mean, they're tired of just, we'll just kick the can down the road. We'll get our quarterback next year. We're not going to be very good this year. I know Jets fans are tired of hearing that, but I do feel as though that's probably their best approach going into next season is getting a veteran like a Geno Smith, who obviously did not work with the Raiders, but Geno Smith had good moments in the previous 2 years with the Seahawks. And when I say moments, it's not like, it was flashes and then he was terrible the rest of the time. It was just streaky, right? I mean, like, what was it? The first half of the first year that he was with Seattle was really good, and then the second half he cooled down a little bit. And then he opened the year in 2024 kind of on a lower note, but then the second half of 2024 he played really well. So it was just kind of like ebbs and flows of what Geno was able to bring. So I think the Jets could win games with him, but it's not going to be anything. It's going to get you into the playoffs.
And I think, again, the Jets' goals, I mean, your goal is always to win games. It's the NFL. But I think as far as, especially as it circles.
Is it always the goal?
Well, I kind of hope not sometimes. But I think as it relates to Aaron Glenn, I don't know that his job status during or after the season is going to be based on just how many games they win. I really think that it's going to be about, can you build and call a credible defense with what we've given you? And then as we slowly build the offense with the tackles, with re-signing Garrett Wilson, who knows what Breece Hall's situation will be beyond this year, then can we just complement it with the offense? I mean, essentially it's going back to the same idea that Robert Saleh kind of had with them before is, look, this defense can be really good. And for a couple of years it was. Can we develop the offensive side? They couldn't do that, and that was their downfall. Maybe it's just the same strategy here. Or if they go out there with this unit and the defense still looks bad, then you're resetting at head coach next year, and you still have some of this talent under contract.
So do you want to talk about Trey Hendrickson? Because Trey Hendrickson is still out there and has not been signed. Jonathan Jones of CBS tweeted out that as of this morning, there were teams that I spoke to who said that the gap between what he wanted and what they were willing to pay was close to $10 million a year. So it sounds like teams are willing to pay him somewhere around $20, $21, $22 million for probably like a one-year deal. But he's wanting close to 30. And I think if you look at the numbers of the last time that Trey Hendrickson was really fully healthy, he's justified in saying that he should get $30 million. The problem is that he's older. He's been banged up the last couple of seasons. He's gone through those contract disputes with the Bengals, and we just haven't seen it very much lately. So I wonder how much, because Hendrickson and his team dug their heels in when he was in Cincinnati. And I wonder how much they are going to continue. Like, I wonder if we get to the point where, because a $10 million a year gap is a massive gap in terms of what teams are willing to pay versus what a player is going to want. Dalton, I wonder if, like, does Hendrickson hang on all the way to training camp at this point? Because that is such a massive difference in money and conversation. I wonder if he's not going to budge and he's going to wait until training camp and these teams realize they need edge rusher more than they thought, or the draft doesn't fall to them the way that they thought, or somebody gets hurt in the summer. And now all of a sudden you're willing to give Trey Hendrickson a little bit more money. I know he loses a little bit of negotiating power there as well, but I almost wonder if the way that we have talked about Hendrickson's market, I mean, is he going to go all the way to training camp before he gets signed at this point?
I think the number of years is also a question, right? You're talking about age and injury being a factor. I mean, you compare it maybe to that $30 million number that he wants. You compare it to, say, a Jalen Phillips, and Jalen Phillips also has injury concerns, but he was healthy this past year, and he's several years younger, right? Being 31 and coming off a year where you played less than 300 snaps, even if those snaps were good, it's not great. You have to be on the football field to justify, paying that much money. So I do think the years might also come into play. He might be asking him for 30 a year, but that also might mean 3 years and $90 million. Coming off the year that, the injuries that he had, I don't know if anyone's willing to do that. I bet on a 1-year deal, there's probably someone out there who would do it. 1 year and $30 million?
Sure. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But
he's probably looking for multiple years, though.
Right. There's probably a lot of answers coming back that go, hey, we'll give you 3 years and 65 and guarantee 30 of it. And he's going, well, what's the difference? If you're guaranteeing 30 anyway, I might as well be on a 1-year, $30 million contract. So I think there's a balance of that goes into it. And look, if he was 31 years old and he played his usual 800-900 snaps last year and he was healthy at his production, he would have been maybe the first player signed in free agency. But I think that's really what it comes down to is he going to stay healthy, and can he give you what he's given you the last 5 years in Cincinnati? The last 3 years, he's had at least a 90 pass rush grade in all of them. He's one of the best pass rushers in football, no question about it, if he's out there. And I think it was just, look, a lot of this was mishandled, probably both from his side and from the Bengals side over the last 2 off seasons, but at the end of the day, he's going to get signed. Even if it takes longer than everybody else here, he's going to get signed. He's going to get signed for a pretty good number. And the other question is he waiting for a contender? Is it about the money, or is it about a Super Bowl contender, right? Are we sitting here talking about, well, if the Chiefs were to get him at a good deal, what would that look like, right? Certain teams I think about that could contend at the top. I mean, Dallas was known to be at least looking into him, and they're waiting for the price tag to come down. I know they got Rashawn Gary, but could you imagine how much better their defense gets with Trey Hendrickson in it, right? The Chargers are a team I think about. Why not Philadelphia? Because they're always making moves like that. So there's no way he's not going to play this year or anything like that. It is, to me, just a matter of balancing the injury, the length of the contract, the value of it. And in a vacuum, statistically, is he worth $30 million? Is he worth as much as Jalen Phillips got? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're 31 and coming off an injury-riddled year, it throws a complication in it. And we don't know necessarily the exact number that he's asking for, but I also understand the risk of doing that, right? We kind of saw that a little bit with the huge contract that the Bills gave Von Miller. They kind of knew they weren't getting the value out of the entirety of that contract. They got a little bit at the front end, but now it's kind of part of what's handcuffed their salary cap situation going into future years beyond that.
So let's talk about some guys who are best available, right? I mean, it's been, like we mentioned, it's been a quiet day, but there are still some players that are out there. Kyler Murray is sort of the interesting domino here because he can't officially get released until I believe it's March 11th when everything really opens up. So tomorrow is when he will get released, and we'll see how quickly that domino moves for him. But he's kind of at the top of the list. Trey Hendrickson's at the top of the list we just mentioned. We already talked about Rasheed Walker and some potential spots for him. I think he is near the top of that list. Romeo Doubs, we went over that. But then you get into some guys like K'Lavon Chaisson, Chika Okonkwo, Leo Chanel, Nick Cross, who I think is an underrated player, who I think is a really nice safety. Tariq Woolen is still available out there. Elgton Jenkins, who got cut, he is now available as well. Braden Smith, the right tackle, the longtime right tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. Jawan Jennings, the wide receiver from the San Francisco 49ers. Wyatt Teller's kind of interesting. His best playing days, I believe, are behind him, but he is played at a very high level when he is healthy. So I think that just kind of goes into, okay, how healthy is he? Joey Bosa is still out there as well. Calais Campbell, Jaquan Brisker. Anybody on the best available list that we hit on a lot of those top guys already because the chat was asking us some questions on it. But any thoughts on like Tariq Woolen, Leo Chanel? Like those guys are very interesting to me of where they could potentially go. Any thoughts overall on any of the guys who are best available left?
I'll stay right there with Chanel. That guy's one of my favorite players in football. I'm being honest with you.
I'm kind of surprised he wasn't like swooped up immediately. I'm kind of shocked about that.
I do wonder if it's just a matter of teams not fully believing he can be their just number one A-plus starter at linebacker. His career high in snaps in a season is 527, right? If you're going to be a team's middle linebacker for 17 games, you're going to play probably 1,000 snaps. Now, do I think he could do it at a capable level? Absolutely. You talk about I think he's one of the best run defenders in football at the position. He's got some versatility where you can put him up off the edge, kind of like fellow former Wisconsin Badger Zach Baun, right? When you talk about you can put him off the edge and kind of mess around with your fronts a little bit. You've talked about it in that Sam linebacker kind of role, and he's gotten better in coverage the last 2 years than he was the first 2 years. I think that's the part where you might be a little bit afraid of it, where you go, okay, would he get exposed in coverage in a more full-time role, playing less, or I should say playing more on early down, or I should say on later downs on those passing downs. But if I'm a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, yeah, I'm going to get Leo Chenal. Absolutely. After the year they just had at linebacker, if they didn't get Devin Lloyd, I think this would have been a prime target for Carolina. I think Dallas should be all in on Leo Chenal. I think you want a guy that at the very least, even in, say, a smaller sample size per year, can help you big time in your run defense. Yeah, I think he's one of the most intriguing players left, and I do think he's got the capability of playing more than that roughly 500 snaps a year that he's been playing.
I agree, man. I just run defense is he's so good at it. If you're asking him to be much more of a coverage, like true middle linebacker, I think you might be disappointed. But for those teams that really need to get a lot better at run defense, I can absolutely see that for them. Like, what's the Saints linebacker room? Well, I don't know how much money
right now it's Pete Werner and Danny Stutzman. I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that I don't know why Cincinnati hasn't done it already. I love the moves.
The Cincinnati part of it is I guess it could make sense for Cincinnati.
I would do that.
I think they really wanted Devin Lloyd. To be honest with you, I think Cincinnati really wanted Devin Lloyd, and now that he is gone off the board, I think now they're sort of pivoting to some other strategies. But I think they were all in on Devin Lloyd.
I think the two obvious ones to me are probably Arizona's up there too, but again, I don't know exactly what's going on there. Maybe three obvious ones because Bobby Wagner is still a free agent. Washington, Cincinnati, Dallas. That's what I would think for Chenal right now. Maybe Tampa. Put him with Anzalone. I don't know if it helped. That doesn't help your coverage problems a whole lot, but it's something.
I mean, I would love it. I would love it just because they have to get so much better at the second level. At this point, as much as it pains me, I would rather Levante David retire at this point because you're just not getting a full season of Levante David, and if you're bringing him back, he's going to be in that fold, right? I mean, he's going to be like a starting linebacker for you. You just have to continue to have a deeper linebacker rotation. So I think almost at this point, you gotta hope that you're moving on from him in a different way.
I'll throw one more in there too. They traded away Zaire Franklin, the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what they have at linebacker right now. The Colts,
yeah, I like the Colts.
A Colts defense with Chenal in the middle of it gets better. That's another one that I think we haven't heard anything about them adding at linebacker at all. They've added to their defensive line, obviously, but even then they lost Kwity Paye. Yeah. I mean, their front seven's got to get a lot better in Indianapolis.
Chat's shouting out Buffalo as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Again, it's going to be the coverage question because they need to get more athletic. They have issues covering the middle of the field, which is why they could attack that in the draft. But it makes sense. I mean, again, anything that makes the middle of the Bills' defense better. Let's see. I think that does make sense. I just still think they would need to add then another place. I know we keep talking about them. Say a Kyle Lewis or an Anthony Hill would make some sense for the Bills to get more of an athletic presence in there.
I like that. Reek Woolen, any specific spots? I think the Eagles would make a ton of sense. I don't know if they're going to spend that kind of money to get CB3, but like I think the Eagles make sense as a fit for them.
The one that's been heavily talked about this morning is Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay also makes a lot of sense for them. It's him and Carrington Valentine would be pretty aggressive because they moved on from Nate Hobbs, which, man, the Nate Hobbs, Aaron Banks offseason for them last year was not good. I mean, very clearly that has not worked out for either of those guys.
I'm looking for other fits here.
I mean, Banks is still going to be a starter for them, but I feel like he was.
If Woolen's looking, I think the Raiders would make a lot of sense. But if Woolen's looking to go to a contender, it's probably Green Bay. That makes the
the Raiders could make a lot of sense. I like that shout out as well.
Going over, I mean, Kubiak knows him well for sure.
Yeah, that he does.
I would have said Tennessee if they didn't already sign every corner on the planet.
Juwan Jennings, any thoughts? Landing spots?
Kind of the same as Dobbs. Same vibe. Commanders, Giants. I'm trying to see if there's any. There's always the connection game, too. What was the other one we said before? We said Commanders, Giants, and there was another receiver team that we were talking about. Cleveland. That's it.
Cleveland is the default, I think.
Cleveland is the default. If you name any offensive player, I'm going to, well, he could go to Cleveland. Just anybody. Yep.
He could indeed go to Cleveland. Jaquan Brisker, Nick Cross, maybe either of those guys. I feel like Buffalo still needs safety help.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Buffalo, Dallas. I like the Dallas signing of Jalen Thompson. I'm in on that.
Yeah, it's a good signing.
That was
a fun one. It's a good move. What's Baltimore's safeties now without Ardarius Washington? They have Malachi Starks,
Gilman's
and
gone
Hamilton.
Too.
Hamilton like plays all over though.
Yeah, one of those players, one of those free safety type players could make a lot of sense because you talk about Hamilton trying to play down in the box. Look, Seattle too. Seattle losing Kobe Bryant to Chicago. They need one of these guys as well. I think anything that Seattle has lost, which is mainly Kenneth Walker and Kobe Bryant. And the weird part about that for me is if you threw all of Seattle's free agents in front of me before this process and asked me, all right, who are the guys you're prioritizing? I would have said Kenneth Walker and Kobe Bryant. And those are the two guys that are gone while they kept Rashid Shaheed and Josh Jobe. So, again, it might be a positional thing. It's running back safety versus receiver corner. But to me, for the structure of their team and how they won football games this past year, I would have said Walker and Bryant were the two guys I'm keeping. And those are the two guys they got very good deals. I love the Kobe Bryant addition for the Bears alongside with Devin Bush there at linebacker, and I think expensive as it was and kind of out of character as it was, Kenneth Walker does make the Chiefs a lot better, right? They still got to improve on the offensive line. I mean, to add balance to that offense, finally maybe could be the thing that saves it, right? I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, both of those moves. But those would have been the two guys that I would prioritize for Seattle, and they're the two that are gone. So it's really interesting to see what the Seahawks kind of how they build this towards potentially maybe trying to repeat, obviously, and compete for another Super Bowl.
What's the Charger safety situation now? Like, I'm just thinking about Nick Cross and Jaquan Brisker still.
Derwin James?
Because they have Derwin. But then it's Elijah Molden.
Did they re-sign
and
Tony Jefferson?
I don't think so. They do have our boy R.J. Mickens, though. We can't forget about that.
Well, of course. I mean,
no, we can't forget about R.J.
future Hall of Famer R.J. Mickens.
So maybe not. Maybe that's not a landing spot for either of those guys. Joey Bosa, any thoughts? Mercenary pass rusher.
I think he's going to take longer to sign.
Dude, Bradley Chubb too. I feel like Bradley Chubb was getting a ton of interest at the trade deadline and then got cut. Nothing from him. 30-year-old pass rushers. Teams just very not in on it.
It's harder with Bosa, and maybe some people think this about Hendrickson too, but with Bosa and maybe even Chubb, Bosa for sure, Bosa's not a 3-down player anymore. He's a situational pass rusher, which is nice. I mean, it's obviously a good role to have him in, but those guys I think are going to take longer because at this point they've joined the ranks of mercenary pass rusher that get 1-year, $10 million deals every year. I think Bosa might be one of the last big-name players you see sign because you've got to have an early down plan. You're not going to bring him in to play all 3 downs and 900 snaps and doing all that.
Somebody in the chat's asking, could Matt Milano be on the cheap this year for Indianapolis?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's simple one there. SNY's Connor Hughes, we were talking about Geno Smith. He's talking about all signs point to eventually Geno Smith getting to the Jets and being their starter.
Yeah.
Which I think probably just, again, he's probably just waiting on the Kyler Murray to Minnesota news in case he's got a shot at that job. But that, we might not get that for another day or two. But I think it makes sense. And I think another thing that I think I've tweeted this out before. If I were making predictions on some other quarterbacks right now, it's probably Kyler to Minnesota, Geno to the Jets. And I think, to me, the one that makes the most sense for Kirk Cousins, I think, is Vegas. To go and be maybe week one starter bridge type thing for Mendoza. He's got the connection with Clint Kubiak from the Minnesota days. I think if Cousins can't get one of those jobs where he could more likely compete like Minnesota or like the Jets, then I have a feeling Vegas might be the team that goes and gets him.
I think it's a good call because we've talked about that before on this show, that SpyTech mentioned that he really wants a veteran to be able to not force the team to start Fernando Mendoza right away. Obviously, if he looks unbelievable in training camp and in the preseason, you could probably start him and feel good about it. But he just knows how much stress it puts on these quarterbacks and sometimes how it can stunt their growth as franchise quarterbacks if you start them too early. So getting a veteran quarterback in there makes sense. I think that I could see that. Chat, Wisco in the chat saying Geno potentially to the Arizona Cardinals. I just don't think so anymore.
Nope.
Now with them signing Gardner Minshew, I feel like the cards are kind of on the table at that point with quarterback, and they're sort of admitting, hey, next year kind of is what it is. We talked about that at the top of the show with them being in flux and sort of in a weird situation. So, yeah.
I think it makes sense. Another minor Panthers thing, they've released A'Shawn Robinson, so that defensive line continuing to get reworked.
Right.
And again, that could be – they're another fascinating draft team, too, for me at 19. They could go in so many different directions. The Panthers have really turned themselves into a fun team the last couple of years, haven't they?
All right, you want to do Panthers mock to round out the show?
Round out the show with a Panthers mock? Well, because here's the thing. No matter when we end this show – Trey Hendrickson will get signed 90 seconds 100%. There's no question about it.
15 minutes of when this show is going to end.
Either that or A.J. Brown will get traded. One of those two things is going to happen 90 seconds after. We could be on this show for 6 hours, and at 6:01. Trent Williams is going to
get traded. It's all immediately just going to avalanche the second that we
absolutely
we log off here, which, it's good for you guys for entertainment value, and we'll make sure to remind you guys again that we will be live again at noon tomorrow, as the league year will be opening very soon on Wednesday, and then Thursday as well, Friday. We will be live at noon Eastern every single day, recapping a lot of these moves, doing a lot more of these team mock drafts, all that good stuff. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do a Panthers mock draft to round out the show here. A different look Panthers team. I think they have a ton of flexibility. We talked about them at the very top of the show 2 hours ago at this point. Just the changes that they have made, how Devin Lloyd and Jalen Phillips, I think, really give them the ability to be pretty aggressive in the draft here. So let's fire up a 3-round mock draft here for Carolina. We talked about the flexibility that it gives them at number 19. So who do they have to choose from?
How does the board fall? Caleb Banks. Wonder with the linebackers situation how much belief they have in Trevin Wallace. And they just go, you know what? Wallace and Lloyd is good enough if that takes a C.J. Allen off the board here.
At 19, probably, right? Second or third round, if there was a linebacker that they really liked, I could see it. But with all the money that you just gave Devin Lloyd, you would then be allocating a ton of free agency resources and then also high draft capital at a lower premium position. So I just don't think they would do that.
So the way the board fell here, unless we're really itching to try to solve something at left tackle with a Caden Proctor or a Caleb Lomu, the way the board fell here, is Kenyon Sadiq still here? Did he go off? Oh, wow, look at that, 11th overall of the Dolphins. If Sadiq is off the board, I think I pivot to interior on the defensive line. Especially, we just got news that they released A'Shawn Robinson. Do you go with the high risk, high reward of Caleb Banks? Because I think, to me, if you're choosing Banks in the first round, you know for a fact he's the best pass rusher of this group in the draft. Or the guy that stands out to me beyond that would be Caden McDonald, who I think just absolutely shores up A-gaps between the tackles. You are not running inside on this Panther team. If you draft McDonald, you might not get the pass rush you want out of him, but you got Phillips, you've got Skorton and Princely off the edge, you still have Derek Brown inside. We might have enough to support taking a Caden McDonald in this spot, and their defense would get a lot better, and then you've got Lloyd and Wallace flying free behind him.
I don't love defensive tackle this high in this class.
I get it too. I get that also. I think they're all very... Banks,
you are right about the scheme, need, fit type of thing. So if they believe that Caden McDonald is worth... I just don't think he's worth a top 20 pick. You can get good run stuffers.
The argument against it is
if we get Dominic Orange later in this draft, I'm much more happy than drafting Caden McDonald at 19.
Okay. Is it tackle? If Sadiq was on the board, it might be Kenyon Sadiq for me.
I think tackle or wide receiver, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, I wish Jordan Tyson was here.
Oh. You know what, though? Considering the injuries and as much as we've talked about it, it didn't happen just simulating here. Where did he got to 16 to the Jets there. Good pick. Who did the Jets get to? They got Reese. Was it Reese and Tyson? Yeah, okay. I can live with that. All right. Not that it matters. Not like some AI jet
I would rather go
matters,
with
but.
I would rather go with Blake Miller. I know he played right, but can he play left for you? I'd rather go with like Caleb Lomu. Omar Cooper Jr.
Do you take the big swing on Caden Proctor?
Caden Proctor is interesting, right? Because if Icky comes back and you love him,
I mean, you could eventually move him inside if you wanted.
But they have Damian Lewis, who kicks fucking ass, who's incredible. And then you've got Robert Hunt as well.
But also
how old is Taylor Moton?
Is he 30?
He's 31. No, he's 20. He's 26, according to...
Well, yeah, on our side, he's 26, yeah. In my head, he's 26. They're all 26. In my head, I'm 26, Not really. In my head, I'm like 76. Anyway. I would
rather take Blake Miller or Caleb Lomu. I would rather take one of those guys.
I'm tempted to think, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter that much. I'm tempted to think Lomu then because I know he plays on the left side, and that's the need. That's what I need right now. But if you like Miller that much better, then because you still have to figure it out. Can he play on the left side? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think he's played a single snap on the left side in 4 years. At
Miller?
Yeah.
No, 54 starts all at right tackle. Oh, wait. I might be wrong.
You might be wrong. You think he played one snap over there?
He might have played left tackle his first year.
No, I don't think so. Not much if he did. Oh, sorry. I was going back to the other thing here. I forgot him on there. Draft sim. Here we go. Live show. We're having fun with it.
Offensive tackle. Did he play?
Oh, wait. I could probably look at it here. Let's see. 2024, he played 100 snaps at left tackle. Wow. Is that 100 snaps enough to convince you? Do we just do it? Do we go first round center? We get real weird.
First round center.
I'm just messing with you. What do we think, Trev? We thought this would be easy, and now it got difficult. Look at that. The Panthers are doing so good that it's hard to draft for them. Look at the offseason.
Let's pick Omar Cooper Jr.
Okay. All right.
Let's pick Omar Cooper Jr.
We're giving up on Leggett. Is that what we're doing here?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Omar Cooper, 19. We're fixing this offense. Get some yards after catch going. 27 missed tackles. All right,
and then
oh, man.
What's defensive tackle and offensive line? What are those two? What does it look like?
O-line. Let's see.
Well, tackle and
all of it. Guard. Tiernan. But are you in on Tiernan being a guard? I think I'm in on that. It's like a zone blocking guard, I think. Oh, Sam Hecht.
Sam Hecht's good, but I'd take Dominic Orange, I think, over him at this point. And then I'd try to get Hecht later. I don't know if he'll last that long, though.
Next pick's at 83. Or, if we look in that range, Connor Lew, Jake Slaughter, would you be?
Yeah, it could go Connor Lew or Jake Slaughter. I think I'd wait on center then. I'm looking at Big Citrus.
You want to check the general board real quick as well? Or
sure,
no?
yeah.
Sure.
Let's
just
see the general
to see.
board.
Jacob Rodriguez, good player.
Yeah.
You want to get real fun at linebacker. Rodriguez.
Ooh, somebody said Stowers.
Oh, Stowers would fit. No, Stowers would fit. I don't hate that.
I know, he would. But we just drafted Omar Cooper Jr.
So? When is this team at their best? When Bryce Young's slinging it downfield? And they've got the inline blockers to support carrying a player like Stowers or Sadiq. My same argument for them drafting Sadiq applies with Stowers here.
Okay.
I don't hate it.
Stowers.
I don't hate it.
All right. Let's take Stowers.
Now we're loading up on offense.
And then
all right.
Connor Lew or Big Citrus, whoever's left.
Citrus is gone. Lew is there.
Okay. Yeah,
Slaughter is there.
Yeah, let's go Connor Lew. Let's say Connor Lew.
And
then I think you can still get defensive tackle. Like you can get Tim Keenan in the 4th round, right, from Alabama, right? I mean, you could find a run stuffer a little bit later in the draft.
We're full convinced on Lew over Slaughter. Max loves Jake Slaughter. Just loves him.
I haven't done final evals for center. Center's the last position that I have after defensive tackles.
I didn't, and you're going away from the Florida Gator. You're really trying.
No, you know what?
You're really trying to get. You're really trying to give an unbiased look here. Is what you're trying. I get it. I would never for the FAU guys because we have so few of them. I got to support them. But
shout out to Max. Let's take Jake Slaughter.
Wherever in Iceland you may be watching.
Yep.
Jake Slaughter. Starting center, Carolina Panthers.
Okay, so we went Omar Cooper Jr., Eli Stowers, and Jake Slaughter.
Wow. We spent the whole show talking about Carolina's defense, and we just drafted three offensive players.
I'm going to be honest. I don't like it. I don't like it.
What do you want to do? Another one?
No.
You want to do an all defense? You want to do an all defense one?
That's the whole point of mock drafts, though. It's like you get put in situations that kind of make you uncomfortable here, and the way that this played out, I don't. These are good players. Carolina gets better; they get more talented. I don't like how this fell for them. This was a very tough mock draft to do for them.
It was tough. I don't hate actually Stowers and Slaughter. It's the first pick. I don't know that I'd go Cooper with them.
So if Tyson was available, you'd pick Tyson, and you just feel great about it.
That I would feel better about. I do like Tyson better.
I mean, I do too because I like Tyson better. But
yeah, I don't mind Stowers and Slaughter as the fits there. Cooper's the one. I don't know. You know me. I know the D tackle thing is what it is. I'm a huge fan of Caden McDonald. I think it would fit. Yeah, fun times, Trev. Kind of weird. Kind of a day 2 hangover free agency. Going to check last second here. We already know what's going to happen 90 seconds after we get off this show.
Well, Braden Smith signed with the Houston Texans.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm in on it. I don't hate that.
Of course you are, because it's an offensive lineman for Houston.
Because it is literally an offensive lineman with a pulse to the Houston Texans.
So now, in theory, Braden Smith plays right tackle. Ariante is at left.
Yep.
You've got Blake Fisher, who's the backup. He's the swing tackle for you. You have Ed Ingram.
Trent Brown's on 1 year and $7 million.
Trent Brown plays at guard now.
So they're not taking tackle round 1.
No, not anymore.
Oh, that my Emmanuel Pregnon propaganda is about to get wild. At 28, yes.
But they just signed Ingram and Trent Brown. Yeah, or did they not sign? Was Trent Brown not a free agent?
Well, Brown, whatever it was, they gave him a 1 year and $7 million extension. He's not playing guard though. No,
he's not playing tackle.
I'm about to. He's not. Well, with the lineup they have, he's not playing at all. No, my Emmanuel Pregnon propaganda, the Pregnonaganda.
Trent Brown's played guard.
Well, I mean, if you want to slot him in at left guard, you can, but I don't. I'd be looking to upgrade, sure. I'm telling you, Trev, I'm calling it Pregnonaganda. That's what we're going to call it for the next month and a half.
Yeah, you're still in beta. Keep working on it.
Oh, okay. We're working
Hold on. Now I got to look at the snap counts for Trent Brown because I feel like I'm going crazy over here.
Well, you might be anyway. I'd go nuts too if I was on a show with me for 2 hours. Makes sense.
It is.
I don't know how you get
over
through the draft
2 hours now.
See that?
We're
fact checking Trent Brown. Very important stuff before we get out of here. Certainly the producers don't want to go home. Don't mind me. Let's Let's see. Has Trent Brown ever played guard?
He has never played guard.
He's never played guard, and I don't think he's going to this year. They signed him.
Him switching left and right. I swore he played guard.
Nope.
He's never played guard.
Nope. Never done it. How about it? Oh
Okay.
yeah. Lock it in.
All right.
Emmanuel Pregnon to the Texans.
Hand up. It's on me.
Happen. That's all right.
It's on me.
That's a big man. He probably could play guard. I don't
Maybe,
doubt
but he's not going to.
No, he's not going to. There's no evidence that he's going to at all. Fun stuff.
Appreciate everybody watching the show. This is fun. Another 2-hour stream here for you guys. Middle of free agency. The best part about it is we'll be back with you tomorrow. Noon Eastern, as we're doing every single day. We'll, of course, have the Trent Williams trade, which is about to drop any second now. What are the other ones? Trey Hendrickson's going to get signed?
For sure.
The second that we stop this show.
The Jets are trading 5 first-round picks for Joe Burrow in about 8 seconds. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. And we will be back with you guys tomorrow at noon to talk about all of that. For everybody behind the glass producing the show, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at noon.